So we got Josh.
Michaelis, right?
There you go. Thank you, Jason.
Michaelis, yeah.
Michaelis. I was gonna say Michaelis.
That was on purpose. I told Buddy last time.
I just done my homework. Can't even pronounce my last name.
I did that on purpose because I told Buddy, I said, do not screw up his last name because he comments about it all the time when people screw it up. What was that? Somebody did one with Janice. Bear did one with Giannis and he butchered his name all up on purpose.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah, on purpose. It was fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. No, it was a great episode. There was some stuff like you really hit on that I just I jotted a couple of things down I kind of wanted to go back to if we can.
So I sometimes I listen to the podcast that I'm on, not because of my ego. Like everybody makes fun of me. Like, you listen to yourself. I'm like, you don't understand. It's like there's so much adrenaline. I don't know if you get this, Josh.
You forget it.
There's so much adrenaline when you're in the moment recording that I forget what I say most of the time.
I never do. I remember every single word, and then sometimes I'm just like, and I say some cringe stuff that I know is going to make people mad, and I know I work for Joey Dog Food, and I'm just like, I don't want to listen to that. I know that made somebody mad. I really don't want to rehash it.
We're used to that. We live in that world.
Yeah. So I was listening to the one that you did with me that just came out on your show, and boy,
which his show is what? What's the title of it?
Working
Fueled by Joey Working Dog Podcast.
That's it.
Yeah, Fueled by Joey Working Dog Podcast. So that's our guest today is Josh. We had to have him on. But the way you ended that part one, I was left. You tiled me down as I was starting to say something. I'm like, what did I say? What did I? It was I'm like, I'm the guest, and you cut out part one. I don't know whoever listened to that.
You part-two'd it, huh? I listened to the original file. I got to listen to the whole thing in its entirety. Did you split that up?
I split it up into two parts. A lot of times when I'm traveling, when I knew, luckily Buddy was on, I think we did like an hour and 45 minutes. Something.
Yeah, it was a long time.
So by the time I plug in the commercials and all this stuff, well, now I got 2 1-hour episodes. Yeah, I can take a week off.
Take a week off.
Work. and I say I worked, but I went down to Kentucky and we did the bourbon tour with the wife. So I've been on vacation work.
Yeah, I seen you at Maker's Mark.
Yeah, it was cool down there.
I went down there years ago.
I'm sipping on some Widow Jane 10-year right now, actually.
Right.
Buddy's got a history with Jack Daniels.
Yeah. Does Jack Daniels know about this?
Yeah,
they know about me.
They know who Buddy Woodbury was at that point in time.
I wish I still had. I had a cease and desist letter from Jack Daniels because I made a T-shirt that looked like the Jack Daniels logo, which I totally copied their logo and made it into W.
Jack Daniels is, you don't do nothing with their stuff. They're like Harley Davidson the same way.
Yeah.
Man, yeah.
If they get anything, I don't know who they hire to just snoop around on people's stuff, but they're good.
Oh, it's really good.
We need to know those people.
At the time, I was scared. I mean, I was like, dude, burn. Because they were like, we need to know how much you sold. And I'm like, I didn't sell shit, to be honest with you. Like, I probably had like 4 customers. You know what I mean?
I lost $800.
Here's your $2.
Yeah. We were printing them, and I'm like, they're gone. I burned them all. You know what I mean?
Tragic accident last night in the
because I just wanted them off my ass. You know what I mean? I mean, you got this. I mean, it was an official looking letter. Like the IRS was going to step on you next, and I'm like, dude, I'm just a kid trying to make a cool T-shirt, man.
There's cease and desist are scary at first.
Your first 2 or 3 are a little scary. Then after that, you're good to go, huh?
Yeah, no, right now I'd be like, I'd scan a picture of my middle finger and be like, try that, and they'd probably show me their middle finger, and I'd be like, oh, okay, you got a bigger one,
bigger than yours.
See, I'm trying to get a cease and desist. I have a plan, and I don't know if I should say it, but I'm going to. So I bought a website domain that is extremely similar to a very popular
DU
brand.
DU magazine.
Not DU. No, nothing. Yeah, it's like the letter W.
Yeah.
No, like I really want to meet this guy because I think he's really cool, and I figure the best way for me to make a contact with him is I'll do something to probably pull a cease and desist, right?
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I'm not going to say who it is, but if somebody calls and asks, I might be able to.
But if you go to joerogan.org.
Yeah, joerogan.org. No, what I would say if you wanted to check out brodeotime.com, you might get an idea of what we're searching for here. I want to get me a ride down to Radiator Springs.
Oh, yeah. Those early lessons you learn, like that. And I don't, like you said, the Jack Daniels guys, they are, how they found me. I didn't even think I had a website at the time. Like, it was legitimately like, they must have had somebody walk in the Portland Sportsman Show and was like, yep, right there. That guy's got our brand. And
probably.
I think it just, I had the number 7 with, it was like it was something like that where I just didn't change enough. I don't know what it was, but.
Did they send you a nice one with little red diagrams of what you did?
No. It was just like, stop your shit.
Yeah.
But a lot more words. It was more professional words of like, hey, cut it out.
They spent a lot of money on that form letter, I guarantee it.
They got lawyers on retainer. That's all they do.
Oh.
Copyright and trademark infringement, stuff like that.
So I sent one to Jason at one point because
I wonder if we can find one of these on eBay. These things are getting ready to skyrocket in the secondary market.
Yeah, right. Buddy's driving the market.
Yeah. Yeah. This was before, Zoom, legal Zoom or whatever. You know what I mean? I don't think Jack, I mean, I really would frame that son of a bitch right now and I'd hang it on my wall. Like it would be, I was too afraid of it. I'd probably burn it.
Yeah, that would look good here in my office. I'm going to look for one.
Yeah. I'm like, man. But I sent one to Jason before the whole deal and had the lawyer draw me up a draft to cease and desist letter. And
it had really nice pictures.
I don't know if Jack Daniels got as much enjoyment out of it as I did. They probably just get old.
That was just an everyday occurrence for them. This was a special occasion.
Oh, I know. This was like, we pulled out all the stops, red carpet. He was nice, though. I will say this. Buddy at least gave me the option to sell them all. Like, he's like, get rid of them, do whatever you want to do. But yeah,
Jack Daniels didn't do that. They were like, we want to know how many you sold and how much of a check we got coming. I was like, you got nothing. You got all my money. It was just an idea.
Bottle of black.
Yeah.
The worst part is like, because we deal with it all the time. The W dogs and all of our like graphics and stuff, it gets copied so much, and it's hard because that's kind of
my little girl's sporting around one of them tattoos that you guys sent me with that stuff all the time. She puts one on about once a week, so I don't want to hear no bullshit from you. We got it from you guys. We didn't make it.
No, that's great. All the double up, Chuck, is okay. I love that words came back up again.
We used to go to a show, and especially if we were going in like an area or whatever. And so Jason would be a competing brand, and we'd show up to these events, and I made sure we had T-shirts and business cards and just fun stuff. You know what I mean? When you get there, koozies and all this, just stuff that's like, hey, it just spreads around the table so somebody gets one and whatever. And Jason, behind my back, it was called the double up chuck because it was like just
that's what we called it. You just walk in and it's double up chuck everywhere. Lanyards, hats, shirts, stickers, leads. It was like, it looked like double. You just backed the dump truck up and which sucks because then I had to spend a lot more money to even be relevant.
Yep.
So you know what I did?
Hold on a second. Let me close this door.
Oh yeah, take your headset off, buddy, while he's gone. I bought an AR-15 and gave it away.
There you go. He didn't hear that. So
no, he doesn't.
I feel like I left.
Jason, he's back. We got to.
You picked a bad time to leave.
I feel like I'm going to have to listen to this podcast again to hear what y'all talked about.
I was just talking about I bought a gun. It's the only way everybody would pay attention.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Yeah,
that was a good one. And I thought that I'm like, how are we going to do this? I'm getting back. We're buying a freaking gun.
I wasn't at that show, Josh. So Mike and Matt went to that show, and I remember getting a phone call, and I don't know who it was. I think it was Matt because he was a little more fiery. He's like, that beep and beep beep. He's raffling a gun at his booth. Like everybody is over there, buddy. There's not a single person in the W booth, and there's a line over the Plum Tree booth right now. Mm-hmm. Boy, Matt did not take kindly to that.
It was pretty epic. But
you could.
No good deed goes unpunished. I will tell you, I own that gun now because the guy I had working with me won the gun. And I'm like, dude, I love you, buddy. I'll buy you another one. Like at this point, I said, I'll buy you another one. You can't take this gun.
Yeah.
Well, like the rest of I should say like other decisions. He doesn't like listening to people. So he took the gun. So I'm like, crap. That totally backfired. It did not go to like any customer. It was like this great opportunity. Then he was hurting for money. So I bought it back. So I bought that gun twice.
I ran into a situation like that. I used to make coon squallers for the Big Show game calls. And just
really?
you see these waterfowl guys, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I made the best coon squaller out there. And
I'm the best areas.
I piss excellent, that's what I
in the morning.
But these were some of the most finely crafted calls and all them guys wear one at these hunts. Everybody's got one, and they want the nicest one. And I think this call sold originally for $375, if I remember right. I mean, it was beautiful, and I always wanted it back. But I would turn one for myself and sell it because I'd rather have the money than the call most of the time. And so this guy contacts me after I sold that business, moved on, wasn't doing them anymore. This guy calls me, goes, hey, I want to donate that call that I bought off of you to the PKC Youth Fund. We're going to auction it off. And so they were I think it was like $100 a spot, and we sold 10 spots. And so it was $1,000 goes straight to the PKC Youth Fund for the youth hunters. And of course, I bought a spot, and I'm the one doing the drawing. And it's live and everything, and I hit the button to spin the wheel, and it lands on me, and I was just like, shit. That is no bueno. And
I really wanted this squaller, but
everybody's on the live feed being like, keep it. And then half the people are like, rigged.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah. So
I should have just bought all 10 spots.
I'm live it the whole time. I hit the button again. I said, look, I'm not taking it. Just consider my donation. But whoever wins this, I will buy this call back off of you. I want it back. It was a beautiful call.
Sure.
And I hit the wheel again. Levi Stevenson wins it, who's one of the co-owners of Pro Sport, and I've not seen it since.
he hasn't given it.
Well, now he owns the market on it, so you might get a phone call.
I mean, this thing was probably the nicest one I ever built, and I sold one for upwards of I think it was $4,200 when I got done.
Ooh.
And it was pre-ban ivory, it was silver inlays, it was the whole work. It took me 6 months to make it. I'd work an hour in the shop at night, and if I blow that pre-ban ivory up, I'm out. This guy's just lost $1,000 worth of material.
Yeah.
Or more. Who knows what he paid for it? He sent me the pre-ban ivory. And so, I mean, I've made some great ones, but that was my favorite. I was going to put it on a shelf. I was going to put it behind a glass deal and hang it in my office. And Levi, if you're listening to this, the offer's still open, but I'm not going to give you $1 bajillion for it because I don't like it that much.
5 bajillion, maybe.
Yeah, you owned it twice. You already owned it twice.
I won the damn thing fair and square, and he won't even sell it back to me.
I think you guys should flip a coin over it, to be honest. Get them on here live, flip a coin.
Yeah.
That's how men settle it, right?
Yeah, something.
So when I'm always at OESDA and we're raffling shit off, like if it's a Garmin or whatever, I'll pull, I'll pull the bucket or whatever. When it gets to a gun, I'm like, hey, where's a kid? I'm gonna be legit on this one.
Ticket.
I'm in on this one, man. I'm not. The guns are not going home. They coming home with me. So when I see something, I'm like, oh, I really want it. You'll watch me find a kid. I'm like, I gotta find a kid. I gotta make this drawing. Make sure everything's above water on this one because I want to take this one home.
I'm just gonna rig the next one. I've decided. I'm like, my internet wasn't working. I couldn't do it live. So here we go.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, that's funny.
And my son will win it. It's a miracle.
Yeah. You just got to get a different name. You got to find somebody to be like, hey.
Fake Facebook profile. Yeah. Like everybody's
Josh
got
Michaelis.
One. Right? Yeah, Josh Michaelis just Joshua. You might want to add the UA at the end.
There you go.
Then nobody will pick up on it.
Some French guy.
Yeah.
That's wild. I didn't know you were involved with them before.
Yeah.
That was your company?
That was my company. Big Show Game Calls was my company, and I sold it, and it became Tier 1 Custom Calls.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
But no,
really cool.
that was all me. I started that out of my garage, I think in 2010, 2009, something like that, and then
Really?
operated it until 2020 or 19, one of those years. I done it for over a decade, so it would have been late.
What made
That's
you
cool.
decide to get out?
It was so time consuming. You
Yeah.
know, I would go to work. But at that time, I was putting fiber in the ground, and I'm working. You know,
So it was on
8
the side. So
Yeah,
it
it
was
was a
something you
side
did.
gig. It wasn't
Okay.
anything I did, and it made good money, but all it did was pay for my habit. You know, it paid for my dog food, it paid for
Yeah.
my entry fees, it paid my vet bills, and it's paid for stuff like that. But you know, you would clear on a good year 25 grand, 30 grand, which is a good side gig. But that
Heck
side
yeah.
gig took me from 5 o'clock in the evening, 6 o'clock in the evening until 11 o'clock at night, 4 nights a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
And then you know how it is when customers, and I love people. I love coon hunters,
Here we
but
go.
you know how it goes. And they're
Oh, yeah.
just, you know, they order squalor, and I wouldn't take any money until I got it done if it was a custom call. And I made molded calls and stuff too, where I would get them out to dealers and stuff. But you know, they would order a custom. I would open my custom books open until I got 52 calls because I'd do about one a week. 50 to 55, 56 calls, something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Shut her
then
down.
I would decide for 2 weeks that I don't feel like inhaling sawdust and all this stuff, and I don't want to do it. And then I would get behind, and you know how it goes. And then here
Oh,
these
yeah.
guys are, they order it in January, and it's July, and they're bugging me about their call. And you know, I put it out there whenever we sold the calls that, look, I don't know when I'm going to get this done. It may be
Everybody
never.
says, "Oh yeah, no
Oh, yeah,
problem,
don't
no
worry
problem."
about it.
Oh yeah, no, I don't
Until
do
I'm worried about it.
No,
Until-
I didn't take their money. I didn't do nothing, because even if I would have a customer on a list and I would make a call and I'd say, "Hey, your call's ready," and then they ghost me, which happens because some of these are $150, $200 calls, and guys don't have the money, and I get it. That's understandable. You know,
sell
you're
it.
just messing me back and say, "Look, I ain't got the money right now." I'd hold the call for 4 or 5 months for some people who said they didn't have the money and give it
Right.
to them when they did. But a lot of folks would just ghost you, and you couldn't get a hold of them, and they wouldn't send a message back in 2 or 3 days. I'd put that thing on Facebook; it'd be gone in 10 minutes.
Right.
You know, so it wasn't no skin off my back either way. But it was fun. I started doing duck calls, and that was the enjoyable part. The coon squallers were just a business, but the duck calls, they were so time consuming, and there were so many people that done it better than me. Even though I built a good one, you could get a better product for the same price from someone that was better established. And so the duck calls became just a secondary deal that I did for fun. Well, then it turned out to where I didn't have time for fun.
Yeah.
You know.
It's side
Yeah.
hustles are tough though. I mean, that's how Plum
Yes.
Tree started.
Yep.
You know, buddy, yours was a side hustle.
Yep.
And to make
Yeah.
that jump, I don't think everybody wants to be a cowboy until it's time to do cowboy shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to be real honest with you, that cowboy shit is real tough sometimes because I feel like in a weird way, I was really fortunate. I didn't have a choice. I had a career that ended. Like I was several years into a career, had an injury, and luckily I had already started my side hustle and I was able to invest anything that came from that into building a business. So in a weird way, like I had a huge leg up because I was desperate. I didn't have another option. I was an injured worker. Like, what are we going to do here? But, you know, like Buddy working at Intel all those years, and it hits that growing point where that's where the grit kicks in. I don't think there's any way to explain it. And you've got to want it bad enough because it is sacrifices.
Yep.
It is top ramen
Yeah.
a lot of nights. You know,
I think
it's giving
I-
up a lot.
I did it mostly just to spite my ex-wife.
That's good motivation.
It's a good motivation. Those
still
are some
married when I
motivating
started
factors.
Yeah, we were still married when I started this. She's like, "This will never work." I'm like, "Huh, F you. This is gonna
We'll
work."
make this work before this marriage.
Exactly. And one did and one didn't. And that's
As soon as you get divorced, you're like, "Okay, I'm over that."
oh yeah,
Day
yeah.
two, retire.
That's actually when I sold.
Good for you. Right after, right?
Yeah, and I made him pay cash.
Good choice.
She's like doing the alimony. Like, hey, where's that business you got? There's gonna be a
That's
million.
right.
It didn't succeed.
I'm gonna do it again. I signed a 5-year non-compete whenever I sold, and that's up
Yeah.
here in a couple years. And
Yeah.
you know, I'm not gonna do it I'm way too busy for doing it other than have my stuff, build a call, sell it when I feel like it. But I do.
Yeah.
It is enjoyable. They're
Yeah.
pieces of art, and it's a finicky business. And then once I started it, I was the first real true custom coon squaller maker. I mean, just what you see out of some of these waterfowl call guys. I was the first one to do that on the coon squaller side. But as
Hmm.
soon as they seen my success, and of course I marketed it really well and everything, and I had some part-time people in the shop and stuff, but it was basically a one-man band. But it,
That's a hard thing to do.
yeah,
Well, that's probably one of the hardest things that I got lucky with was I knew that I use the word scale, but business
yeah,
scales. You know what I mean? Getting employees and figuring that out,
yeah,
that you
Yeah.
can't be a one man show if
yeah,
you. A lot of people will support that, and here we were talking about me picking on the little guys. I'm not picking on the little guys, but I was there and I
Yep.
knew that
Right.
yeah,
I wanted to go hunting for 4 days or 5 days. You know what I mean? Go take a long weekend and add a couple days. When I had a job at Intel, I could do that. I'd use my vacation wherever I want. Well, when we started getting big enough that we had enough orders that you couldn't showboat around and be like, hey, why haven't you shipped my order in 5 days? You know what I mean? Like customers, they want to go hunting too. That's the problem. You know what I mean?
We're
That's
in
the whole
wrong
thing. It's like,
industry.
there
you
comes
want to
a
go
point
hunt.
where you can't do it yourself, and
Yeah.
you got to make that decision to either go all in or sell.
Yep.
I mean, you hit that point eventually with any successful business. I took the sell route because I didn't see a huge future with the competition that came in after me. Because now I'm competing against these are good dudes. There's a lot of good call makers out there now, but you're competing against them when they weren't there when I started.
Mm-hmm.
If a new dog food company comes in, and all just like High Standard and Joy are there, Purina's
Mhm.
there,
Yeah.
Victor's there. Well, you start a company like Purina, and some employee from Purina goes and decides they want to do this. Well, yeah, you were making good money at Purina, but they weren't your competitor. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so you run into that too. I mean, it's a decision everybody's got to make eventually. And
And
sometimes with the right business model, it works out, and sometimes it don't.
but you're
Yeah.
right. You either sell or
Yep.
you make the jump, because
Yep.
just being complacent, it'll never succeed.
No.
Because you're just sitting on that razor's edge. It'll never happen. And that's where I was, and that's where I came into the W picture thanks to
Yep.
Buddy. Like, it just, like us, it grew too much. It was taking too much time, and I wasn't
It
willing
did
to.
for
It
me.
was
It
either
did
your
for me
marriage
bad
and
too.
family succeed or whatever. So I'm like, well, we're done.
Yep.
But
I remember
I didn't have the means or the balls to do it.
Yep.
Like it was necessity that caused it, where now it's like, man, it takes some guts to get into a
It
business
does,
in today's world.
especially if you got kids and you got another occupation, and if I was young, of course, we all have hindsight from when we're middle aged or whatever. I wish I'd have known now what I did then
Sure.
and all that stuff, or then what I did now. But it's
Yeah.
if you're not growing, and I've never been a guy that cared about money. As long as it didn't rain on me when I slept, and I had a truck and a dog, I never cared, and I still don't. But I'm also a capitalist, which is definitely an oxymoron. And so I know that if a business isn't growing, it's dying.
Yeah.
And I was at that point where I either had to grow or sell or die. And, I picked the sell part, and I'm glad I did. I don't, when I sold out, I never wanted to see a lathe again. Now it's been 3 or 4
I'm that
years.
way with a hand stamped nameplate machine.
Yes, exactly. And so, you just got to make the decision for yourself, and everybody's different. Someone's going to take that business, and if they do it right and you've laid the groundwork, they're going to succeed with it too. So,
Exactly.
it's always going to be there.
When I bought Plumtree, that was my motivation, part of my motivation, right? One of my motivation was getting Jason on board, right? Because I seen how hard he was to
Yep.
snuff out. Like, I'm like, dude, I tried to snuff his ass out a lot, and he just kept popping back up. So
lot.
that was part of the, like, I credit to Jason. The other part of it was I was calculating, like, I finally got this son of a bitch snuffed out. Who's going to be the next guy to pick it up? Like, who's going to come in here?
Yeah.
And he had just started to get those wheels rounded. You know what I mean? I started looking at him going like, he's doing a couple things right. He's doing a couple things wrong. You know what I mean? Like but it wasn't easy for him. You know what I mean? And my job was to not make it easy for him whenever we were competing or whatever. But at some point I was like, man, because everybody was asking me, well, you're crazy. And I said, no. I said, number one, take the emotion. We've been in this fight for a couple of years or whatever, this personal deal. I said, take that away. He's done a pretty good job. Like, I got to give it to him. He's different than me. He's attracting a different customer base than me. He's a different person than I am. And I'm not afraid of that. Like, not everybody is my cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. Right.
Don't let your pride get in the way of your pocketbook.
Exactly.
Ever.
And then the second thing was, I don't know who's in line, but you know what I mean? I don't know if somebody's going to pick that torch up.
Cody Hilliard was like all up on me about it. I'm like, Cody could sell the crap out of Hound Supplies.
Yeah.
I'm lucky he came with a job, or he would have been battling again with somebody.
Right. I'm like, I don't want to see the new guy with the torch. You know what I mean? I'm just about getting snuffed out. He'd be lighting a whole bunch of other shit on, because whoever's new is going to come in with a vengeance. Like, I just know that.
They're hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hungry.
And I'm like, it's going to take a year, and I'll wear them out too. You know what I mean? You got to be in it for the long game. There's just something to it.
It is a war of attrition, because I remember one particular guy, and he came on social media, and he was
setting the world on fire.
I almost want to name him, and I haven't heard anything out of him for years. But I would have, because I remember my first aha moment, and that's when, and I had a couple dealers, and I eventually I got to where, because I tried to peddle these things to everybody. All the big dealers in the East, I went to Valley Creek, and I went to Conkey's, and I went to all these guys saying, hey, you got to try these coon squallers, and I was giving them away pretty much for nothing, and I wasn't making enough money, but I wanted to get them out there. And everybody told me no. Yeah. And a couple small suppliers said yes. I'll never forget them. Kenny Ray's Hound Supplies out in Kansas, and Redfern Hound Supply down in Tahlequah, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And those guys are still my friends to this day. And when I made it big, when the orders started piling up, those are the only two dealers I kept. Everything else I sold online. And but my first aha moment was when Conkey called me and wanted like 100 calls. And I'm mechanicing at the time at a local shop up here, because I decided to get off the road. My daughter was getting ready to be born, and I was living in motels, and I was working on the road all the time. And I thought, I need to be home for my kids. And Conkey called me. He's like, hey, I need 100. And I was just like, holy shit balls.
Yeah.
It's like, I was selling them for like $20 a piece. That's like $2,000.
Yeah. Right? People got that much money?
Yeah, you could have like 1,800 in them, but it's still.
Right.
And so my boss, who was a good friend of mine, a hunting buddy of mine, Mike Ralston, he started coon hunting back. He coon hunted with me when I was young, and he got hounds again back when I went back to work for him. And he came over to my house, and he helped me put calls together, and he helped me paint them, and he helped me do all the laser work and all that stuff, that you had to do to get them prepared, build the lanyards. And we got Conkey's first order out, and I thought, I have made it. This is it. I'm going to retire in like 2 weeks. Ralston, you have to hire another mechanic.
There's a comma in this order. We got a comma, baby.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was the only one doing it. I come out with a really good design, and it took off, and then the competition started coming. Mm-hmm. And they came, one particular guy, I don't know if he's going to, he may be a good dude. I don't know, but I'm still going to not forget this. But I had the Chatterbox was my first coon squaller that I marketed. It was a 2-piece poly call, really good reads, the whole work. And he came out with the Rattle Box. And then I came out with a Chatterbox.
So yours is what? The Chatterbox? And he come out. Okay.
Ridgeline Supply still sells that. I sold that to Ridgeline Supply up in Mount Airy, Iowa. But he comes out with the Chatterbox or the Rattle Box, and then I come out with the Chatterbox Hybrid, and he comes out with the Rattle Box Hybrid. And I'm just like, dude, WTF. Give me a freaking break. And my dealers was calling me, the ones that I did have now. Like, hey, what about this new call? And he's blowing it up on social media and everything.
Yeah.
And I said, look, in 5 years, I'm still going to be here. and I'm still going to be sending you product, and it's still going to get there on time, and it's still going to be the same what you expect. I said, he's not. I said, I know the type. I've seen it. I said, I'll be here. He won't. You do what you want. You do what's best for your business, because I understand you're going to have customers that may like his and not like mine or something. But he lasted. He flamed it out 2 years, done. And then I still kept those same dealers and those same suppliers and everything. And it's just, sometimes it's a war of attrition.
Yeah.
I
Quick
didn't want to
nickels
buy
and
him.
slow
I
dimes.
thought he was a jackass. But I thought, I'm going to wear this dude out. I'm going to come out with new products. I'm going to come out with better deals. And eventually he's not going to be able to do it. Eventually he's going to get out of his mom's basement and have to get a real job.
You should have came up with some really great names, like in preparation for his response.
kidding.
I mean, like, I'm not even going to say them on air, but I can think of some really funny ones that you could probably have
This is
some
the
fun
butt
with.
plug from Big Show Game Calls.
I'm saying it's different though. It's like there's quick nickels and slow dimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're both great in their place, And I feel like that's where the side hustles even like getting them to this point. Like I think of W, it started both of our garage. We both started our own kind of things, and now we're both here. Thank you, buddy. Again, I still do appreciate the job.
If your torch would have turned out a little earlier, he wouldn't be here. But you kept that torch going just long enough.
I'm telling you. Well, I remember Laura, because she said, well, what if we would have asked you a while ago? I said, I would have came over as soon as you wrote a big enough check. Like, it wasn't anything. My dignity could have been bought probably cheaper before that. But it comes down, like I said, slow nickels and quick nickels and slow dimes, all of a sudden making that transition from one to the next. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that it's wrong if you decide like, hey, here's my cap. I'm going to give you this much time. Because I'm sure you're a freaking crazy busy guy.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys have been ramping up big time.
Yeah, we've got new projects coming too. And I like to think of myself as somebody with a little bit of foresight. And when I started Big Show Game Calls, and then it went on to making stuff on my YouTube channel, and then it went into competing at these big hunts, and now on to my position at Joy Dog Food, and then new projects we got coming. I want to say I had it all envisioned 2 decades ago, right. And I did some of it, but right now, I mean, we're just swamped, and I'm only one dude, and every now and then, you know how it is, you guys got to take a break.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But you can only be driven like we are for so long. Yeah. And eventually you're just going to have to slow down a little bit. I'm not there yet, but the end of the tunnel's, I can see the light. I can see it at the end of the tunnel.
I was talking, I've talked to a couple people before, and I go, I kind of, we were talking about the deals in the company, and they were talking about wanting to get into something on this. I'm not going to say what it was, and I just told him, I said, here's the deal. I said, you're too early. You're talking about like, the big guys or whatever. And, people come to us and want us to pick something up or do something. And I'm like, I said, you're too early, man. And they go, what do you mean? They're all fired up and they're ready. And I go, you are ready to rock and roll.
Yeah. Folks put the plow in front of the horse.
Exactly. I said, here, imagine like you're swimming across the lake. You know what I mean? You might be a really good swimmer. I said, but anybody that swam that lake knows that about halfway across that, you're like, oh shit, did I bite off more? Yeah, exactly. This may not turn out like I thought it was. Right. And I'm like, I was just telling him, I said, I need you to get halfway across that river before we can talk, because right now you're telling me all this great stuff. Another good example was, and I'll pick on him, but it was a Lay Laps GPS, dog tracking thing.
Yeah, no, I'm familiar with that. Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, like we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that, and we're gonna be this, and I said, I don't know if you are or not, but I'm saying you're overly confident right now for the road ahead. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta go swim that lake, and you get halfway across, and I'll pick you up in a boat and let's talk. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because right now you're talking crazy talk. You know what I mean? It's like
evaluations are subject to change based on opinion and perspective.
The best people, the best businessmen in hound sports have patience, and they have a singular focus. and they can focus on the same thing for years, decades, you
Yeah.
know, and not everybody's like that. Some of my best friends are great businessmen and wealthy and all this stuff, and they even put the cart in front of the horse sometimes. You know, they're just like, well, we're going to do this and this and this. I'm like, well, there's like 200 steps in between your first thing that you told me and the second thing you told me. I said, there's a lot to do. And you got to stay focused on that stuff for so long to make it work. You know, Big Show Game Calls was a 10-year experiment. And when I started the YouTube channel, I knew it would lead, and that's why Joy called me. You know, I knew it would lead to something, but I didn't think it would be, you know, I'm thinking 8-10 years down the road, I'll be able to highlight some of these great dogs and these competition guys and what they're doing and stuff, because they're not getting the coverage that they deserve.
Right.
And, you know, one thing leads to another, but there's a lot of steps that people don't consider.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. Like,
Or you could know. I mean, some of it you just don't know until you're in it. And it is a game time decision.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
It's interesting though, because I'll say, like, I have lots of contacts and friends in business, and you know, like we talk a lot, but the hound market is so different. Whatever you tell me is not going to work, I will hands down tell you, like, I know for a fact works in our demographic. Yeah, I don't care what you tell me. I am telling
Print
you,
magazines.
Well, yeah, don't dive into that.
I'm a subscriber now.
But yes, he is. I saw it come through.
He was trying to give
I feel bad. I need to do that, Jason. I've seen the link. Okay, I've seen your Facebook post, and I'm like, I got to do that for Jason.
He's printed the stickers. He printed the banner. I was going to give Josh a copy. He signed up. I'm like, dude, I'll give you a copy. And his response made me laugh out loud where I was standing. Yeah. I'm not going to say it, but I laughed my ass off.
I'll say it. I still buy Joy dog food. I buy dog food from dealers right here by the house.
Good for you.
For every single kibble that I feed.
Oh.
I told Jason, I said, I don't even get freaking dog food for free.
I'm getting better into that deal. At least Buddy sends me dog food.
Yeah. But, you know, like within my word and my reputation is what has gotten me to this point.
Mm-hmm.
And when I walk into a store and I say, hey, you need to buy this from our distributor, and you need to get a ton or two or whatever and bring it in, what kind of dirtbag would not go in there and buy it from that small business? That's my thing. I'm just going to go in there. I'm going to get it. I got a distributor right down the road. I go down. I write him a check, usually about 6 bags a month. I bring them home, put them in my feed bin, and that's it. You know, I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, you guys know just as well as I do that integrity is going to be 99% of your business profile. And if
it's
I'm
the
not,
relationship,
yeah, exactly.
Because that's the only thing
my way, then there's no sense of me even being here.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like, now I will say that if somebody has some great idea sometimes that I'm not really interested in, I'm like, you go ahead and send me one of those and I'll check it out. You know what I mean? But if I use it, I'm like, all right, I gotta do something. I feel bad. But
there's an old boy that gave me a Garmin antenna, which I use dog trim most of the time, but he gave me an antenna. It's a collapsible thing that he designed or whatever. And I hope he's listening to this. Send me an email. And Buddy, you might want to look at these too. They're really good antennas. But, you know, I go to these events and everyone's like, try this and get this guy on the podcast, and do this and do that. You guys get it too. And I took it. I forgot who gave it to me.
So if you're listening,
Cole McVeigh is using it down in Texas right now. He loves it. And so, yeah,
what does it look like?
It's huge. It's like
a Yagi.
It's big, but it's got joints in it where you can fold it up.
Are you familiar with a Yagi antenna is, like a directional antenna?
Yes.
Did you hunt with telemetry?
Oh yeah. I hunted with the old Johnsons and the Dogtras. Was it? Yeah. Or no, Initech. Remember the Initechs that slid in the tube? Yeah. That was my first tracking system. We couldn't ever afford one whenever I was young.
I can tell when you're talking about Initech.
We had the Initech was the first one I bought, but where I was like 19 and had a job and finally got an Initech. But yeah, this is not like the ones where you undo the screws and fold them up or anything like that. It was real easy to collapse. It had a little rubber band around it. All you do is just take it. It's kind of like the kids' snap bracelets.
Okay. Oh, we have them.
Yeah.
or something like that, like
it
the
may be
Lisa
from the
Frank
same
bracelets,
guy. I
right?
don't know. This
Tape
was
measures with coverings on them.
yeah,
basically.
exactly. It was like a year and a half ago that he showed me this, and he designed it, and I'm like, yeah, I'll try it out, and then I forgot who it was. So I get those all the time
So
too.
this is a homework episode. We got to find a call,
Yeah.
and we got to find.
I don't want to take that
antenna.
guy's. I don't want to take that guy's mojo, but we just discontinued. We got a bunch of them and discontinued because I
Well, there
wasn't
you
too
go. Maybe
impressed
they
with
weren't
them.
worth the shit, and I just thought they were.
We have some guys that love them. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about people, I was just thinking, I got those antenna stories. You know what I mean? My antenna stories are.
And I don't want to discourage people from coming up with new products or stuff, but I may not be the guy worth testing because I can't even remember an hour ago that someone called me.
Who gave me an antenna?
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, yeah, I'll give you a holler back, and then I never call back. I'm that guy.
Yeah,
But
the problem with antennas is there's so much subjective about a lot of them. You know, because like I had those. And I don't know if it's the same one or not, but we called it the tactical flip or whatever. Blah blah blah. You know, and it wasn't one that I was excited to bring on. It was just one that I seen. You're talking about promotion and social media.
Right.
You know, I'm like, I'd seen it promoted a couple times, and I'm like, maybe it's cool, maybe it's not. I don't really. I'm getting to the point where I'm just kind of like old school. I'm like, man, I don't want to look for the newest gadget shit. You know what I mean? Like, but as a business owner, you know, I'm like, God, if I don't, then we get behind where it's like, oh, you got this new thing over here and this new flash over here, and everybody's trying to figure out this new flash. You know what I mean?
Live on hype. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
It's
it's frustrating.
But those are the same guys. This is what blows my mind that are still hunting an Astro 320.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we gotta have every color option or antenna or this or that, but we're running 15-year-old technology.
I had a guy. I was at one of my. He used to deal Joy Dog food. He's got like a tool shop. He sells some black gold. He sells some dog boxes, but he's a coyote hunter, and he's got running walkers and stuff. Good dude. And I was at his shop the other day, and I just had to pick up some odds and ends stuff. And some guy come in. He's a Garmin dealer, I think. And guy comes in with some DC 30s, and he's like, "Hey, this deal here ain't working." And Sean, who owns the place, he's like, "Hey, you know anything about this?" I'm like, "Not for about 8 years, I haven't."
Yeah.
I said, I didn't know those things were still existed. You know, I don't.
Oh man.
He's gonna have to get a different one. Best I can tell you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that it's like it's so unique sometimes.
Yeah.
And
We're just
that
in need.
social media, everybody wants that new mousetrap. And
Yep.
and I'm not saying that next mousetrap isn't out there. Like I'm not saying that you know you can't find that next mousetrap. Like
Yep.
but it's not as easy as sometimes people make it think. You know what I mean? And that's the hard part is there's marketing and you can market a mousetrap, but to actually let a mousetrap sell itself is really difficult. And so sometimes like for that antenna, I just got mixed reviews where one guy's like, "Oh, I love it." And the next guy's like, "Man, I can't get more than, 400 yards with it."
Yeah.
And if I can't see a consistency on it, then I'm like, I just want to be honest with people. And I'm like, that's,
And
some
not
of the other
all-
antennas.
Not all ideas work. I've
Oh,
come
yeah.
up with a few bad ones. Everybody has. You just.
I've come up with a bunch, only a few.
Bunch of them.
But you also got to take your lumps and realize when it's a bad idea. It's just like a dog. There's a time to quit on a dog in our sport, and you got to figure out that dog may have all kinds of certain bells and whistles that you like, but something's going to keep it from winning big. And the longer you deny that, the farther behind you get.
Yeah. Some dogs got a gas tank that just don't make it, and it's the same with products. But then there's other products. That's what gets me is you look at our industry. Like I love your guys' branding as far as Joy does from a marketing standpoint, business standpoint. Like I follow you guys because I like it. But it's like that kind of vintage feel, and everything's kind of like making that comeback.
Yeah.
Like I think of Mark Zepp and Zepp's, Briarproof clothing. Like it's all. He said he had a bunch of stuff from when he worked with Wick and like just pieced all of it together and came up with it's a lot more rebranding than it is reinventing.
Right.
And
But
sometimes that's all it
everybody
takes.
knows that name.
Yeah, of
And
course.
Mark's a friend of mine. I enjoy visiting with Mark. I'll see him here in about a week at Autumn Oaks.
Lucky
And
you.
Mark's a sharp dude.
Mm-hmm.
But Mark's he's getting to the point now where, he don't have to do all this stuff. But the dog boxes came out. He makes a fantastic dog box too, by the way.
They're really nice.
Yeah, his wife I believe his wife that worked
She
at
worked
Diamond
for
Blood.
Owens.
Or
wasn't it?
Owens, yeah. But yeah, they're good folks, good people, and they've made a living off being able to market the coon hunters and hound sports and stuff like that. And so that's someone we ought to maybe look up to and emulate a little bit because, Mark's doing well. Mark's done well for a long time. And he took whatever Wick had and either improved it or rebranded it or done whatever and done a good job.
He's been around a long time. What I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
he's not flashy. He doesn't have Facebook. You know what I mean?
Mark was a competitor of mine when I had Big Show game calls. He came out when I came out with my Pinnacle. He came out with a 2-piece call too, and I was just like, "Oh!"
Is he the what was the other? What was the name?
The rattle box?
No, he wasn't the Rattlebox. He wasn't the Rattlebox. And I actually, because me and Mark have a relationship a little bit, and I would see Mark, I'd be like, "Dude, what the F?
What is this?"
Yeah, and he'd be like, "I'm just doing what Mark Zepp does." And he made it. It was a good call, like the Rattlebox wasn't. Mark made a good call, and he made it. It was CNC'd acrylic, which is a good material, and they were good to look at, and they're easy in the eyes. But he had the ability to package it better, to distribute it better, to do things better than I did, and so he sold a bunch of them. And kudos to him. I'm not mad at him for it. But yeah, Mark done a good job with them, and he still does. I'm guarantee you when I go out to Richmond, Indiana here in about 10 days, Mark's going to be out there. We'll visit. I'll say hi. Be nice to see you, and I will see his coon squaller in just about every single booth out there.
You do it dusupply.com.
There you go. You can get them right there at dusupply.com.
Let me just plug that in there real quick.
I'll plug it too. There you go.
But Mark's been around for the long haul. Like I think of him as an example. I've said this 100 times, I'm sure. As a young guy that got into this, I didn't have Mark was not my Garmin rep, and I always wanted to because I knew his reputation and I knew how long he'd been around. And luckily through W, I was able to actually meet him and build a relationship with him. And it's been really cool because guys like that, guys like yourself, guys like Buddy, that have gone through and weathered the storm, the first storm. I mean, there's lots of them that keep coming, but it's really cool to see how all that works, like the machine, right? That makes everything go.
Yep.
See, and I'm the outsider because I didn't have any of that. I'm like, who the hell is this Mark dude? You know what I mean?
What's a podcast?
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Like, coming into it, I came from the big game world.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you guys in that Autumn Oaks and the competition, and Mark is heavy, and I don't say heavy in that, but that's where he's got a big name coming from Wicks Outdoors, and he's meant those shows and
photo
so.
Work. I mean, he took about every magazine cover
photos. He used to take good photos and stuff, and I mean, he just got a lot of history there that I had zero. I mean, I just had zero. Like, I would look up on him on the internet. That was my research. Was like, he's got a little half-ass shitty website. You know what I mean?
There's no phone number on that website. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, he's smart.
He hides
one
that.
Of the times when I realized that I had made it, and I haven't made it yet. I'm still struggling every day. But when I thought maybe I've made it, Mark Zepp was and Applebee's is the big thing in Salem, Indiana, or Salem, Illinois during the PKC World Hunt.
Right.
Everybody goes to Applebee's. The handlers all get ignorant and they hit on the waitresses, and then Applebee's, because it's the only place that stays open for us, after the late round even.
Sure.
And it's probably the most profitable Applebee's on the planet. Because nobody eats
one night a year.
Yeah, exactly. And Mark was sitting down with, I think it was Jerry Mall and a few others at a table. And I'd walked into Applebee's, and Mark waved at me. "Hey, Josh, how's it going?" And I was like, "Holy crap!" Here I
Right?
am. I've arrived. You know,
Made it. I'm done.
I'm a big deal. I got beat in the early round. I was getting ready to go drink a bunch of beer and drown my sorrows away, you know. But
And then you felt pretty good, whatever.
yeah, Mark Zepp's that eye, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So I felt too.
Yep.
So that ties us into like you and the competition stuff, like, because I just have no, like, we talked a little bit on this other podcast that we recorded for you, but explain that, because I know one of the things that we talked about that people can listen on your podcast. I don't want to just rehash all that stuff, but how you handle a dog and the individual side in competition, like what we look for in our big game hounds and the pack mentality and stuff. You were describing how you don't want that. I mean, tell me what you do with a pup to, you know, not to talk, let's get talking about fun stuff, but let's talk about a dog for a minute. What kind of dog are you looking for when you're doing that competition stuff?
Most of the dogs that we hunt, we've either bred, raised, or trained, or all three. And so that's really important for us. I mean, we have to have all the things that you guys have. For the most part, we have to have track talent. We have to have a lot of heart. I mean, tons of heart. We have to have a dog that ignores all the distractions around it and all that stuff. But then we add an extra layer with that in a dog that has to be alone. It has to make a point of being away from dogs and treeing its own game and running its own track. And I don't know how many hunts that I've been to in the last 10 years. It's in the hundreds, maybe thousands. I don't know. But a majority of these guys that are winning, I can take a dog that's 2 years old and I can walk it within 100 yards of another dog that's just treed every breath. That just makes it sound like they're just looking at something. And I can unsnap that dog and it will go right by it and never pick its head up and go to that tree. And we have to have that.
So not even on a
amazing.
track. You're talking like there's no honoring, not like they have the track and they're just going to do their own thing.
A dog that will go to another dog treed when it's unsnapped is a no-no. We absolutely can't have it because that tree's probably closed. We can do nothing there but draw minus points. And so
how do you do that? So how do you train that? Like
we take the pack mentality out when they're babies. That dog gets isolated at 6 weeks old, 7 weeks old. The day it's weaned, it's not with its litter mates. It's not with anybody but me. I'm the pack. Right. Dad's the pack. And so we'll take that pup. I don't even like puppies playing together when they're weaned. I don't like it. I don't like a pup that'll see another pup out in the yard and run to it. That's not going to be my pick out of the litter. I want a pup that's over here off by itself. I want a pup that's ignoring all the barking and yipping, all that stuff. And we're going to take that dog that's got just a little bit of natural tendency to be alone. And none of them are born that way. People will say, oh, he was a born loner, he was a dead loner. I've not seen any that's the case. The ones that I've seen are made that way either through accident or on purpose. We'll take that pup, and the owner is the pack. I'm the pack. We do everything with it by itself for a long time, and then we'll introduce that dog into other dogs. I start all my dogs with old dogs, with dogs that are seasoned and finished and all that stuff, and we just won't reward them under any circumstances if they're with another dog. I don't care if they did it first and the other dog covers, or if they cover or whatever. You know, if I have a 7-month-old pup that is first time in the dark and it backs the old dog and trees every breath and does everything right, it's not getting rewarded for any of that. And these dogs are smart. We've bred these dogs for so long now that they have a level of intelligence that we underestimate a lot, and they'll pick it up. You know, if you just enforce it and you do it right, they'll pick it up and they will make a point to be alone. But that's also
repetition.
Yes.
I mean, how many times do you have to, like on a general pup, how many times do you have to give that?
Their last breath.
But I mean, so do you put them in a situation where there is another dog treed and you're testing them?
You have
just
to.
kick them loose with a dog treat. And
No, you have to. One of the biggest myths in competition coon hunting is if you want a dog to be alone, you hunt it alone. That's the worst thing that you can do with a dog. I'll
teach
take
it to
a
be
pup.
alone.
I will take a pup and I'll turn it loose with an old dog until it's really going hunting good. And it's gone the whole time. It may be at the trees. It may be off doing its own thing, whatever. And then I'll single that pup out. And then I'll take that pup out. I'll turn it loose by itself because we still got to gauge the talent.
Yeah.
You still got to see whether that dog's got track ability, whether that dog's a good locating dog, whether it locates the right tree, if it's a quick tree dog, all that stuff. And you get them good at treeing coons by themselves, and then you put them back in a crowd because you can't work on them unless you put them in a crowd. A dog, imagine you get dropped on a desert island and you haven't seen anybody for 60 days, and then all of a sudden you hear a party over the hill. You're going over there.
Going to the party.
That sounds.
And then Dad's gonna come in and
really, you're restarting.
Grab me by the ear.
Well, like just imagine you're going to that party and you just get about to the keg, and your dad comes and he ties you back, and you got to watch everybody else drink.
Right.
It would make me want to drink more. That's my problem.
I want to get there next time. You would be faster.
It would be a little faster next time if I just get a little bit sooner.
Get out of Tritronics range.
Fast enough. But and you enforce it forever. It never goes away. And you can take it out of them way easier than you can put it in them. Con is right here laying next to me in the bed. He's 8 years old. He was 4, I think, when I quit putting him in hunts because he got a little cast tail. But I never treed him for less than first tree in 3.5 years. He was always by himself. And he's 8 years old now. He's over here living the good life, and he aggravates me to death. But
so what? That brings me to another question. What makes a dog age out in your game? You know what I mean? Like, at 8, 9, 10, I could see them being slow, and maybe it's just my ignorance. But I'm like, our dogs are firing at 5. You know what I mean? Like
5, 6 is prime time.
A young dog is 2. You know what I mean? You guys are hunting. Yeah. You're what's winning
You're
over
night
there?
championed out.
We start putting them in hunts usually around a year old, and that's the most accurate a dog's going to be is at a year old when they first start training coons and they first get them in there. But what
do you mean accurate? What you explain that?
When a dog's young and they first start treeing coons by themselves, they're going to have a coon in every tree. They don't know how to gamble.
They don't know how to slick yet.
They don't. Okay. They don't know how to take a chance because
my little bastards. You're telling me something now. I'm like, you little son of a bitch. I'm kicking dog's ass right now. You're getting older and you're gambling. But go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
They're getting lazy is what happens.
Well, the tree is a reward no matter how we do it. There's no way to take that out. Making that tree is a reward. And it just takes one time for a dog to say it's a layup coon that hasn't been on the ground yet, and the dog bangs around that tree a little bit, and he finally falls treed on it, and he has it. Mm-hmm. I'm a big proponent, especially where we are, where there's a lot of coons, of knocking coons out to dogs. And you reward that dog with a coon when he gets there. And now that dog has got it in his mind, I can take a chance every now and then, and Dad's going to be happy. And so they start missing a little bit. And so that's one aspect. Dogs, as they get older, sometimes tend to be less accurate, but not always. Some dogs are trailing type dogs that have to have a track to tree a coon, and some dogs aren't. But mostly it's the travel. It's the different areas, it's the different places, it's the different dogs. And then you take a dog where we train it how to be alone, and it gets in a cast where dogs are covering. And our dogs, there's no good way to put this, but they'll fight a little bit at a tree. Because they know that if that dog comes in there, they're not going to get rewarded. Because we don't shoot a coon out with 2 dogs there unless it's a young dog that needs to see, the old dog get rewarded and him tied back. Sure, and so they get tired of doing that. They get tired of fighting when dogs come into them. They get tired of, it's the males dogs usually. The females usually will go 8, 9, 10. Some of the great females are 11, 12 years old and still win it.
And you never get blamed for a fight. That's why you hunt females.
Yes, and females will fight just like them males.
Oh, you know it. Worse. But they don't get blamed.
A mean female is gold.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a layer that we have to add on that makes it difficult on the dog, and I don't know all the answers. There's some guys that can take a washed up male dog, Stevie Ant, for existence, or for example, and Chad Doolin's another guy that takes older dogs. They can take washed up dogs that you thought were done, and the next thing you know, they're winning $20,000,
Find the
$30,000
next
a pop
gear.
with them. I can't do it. My partners can't do it. Uh, when I'm done with them, I'm done with them. They'll live the good life right here in the house like Con is, and that'll be it, and we'll move on to something else. But a lot of the females will win late in their career.
And
Yeah.
so, what's the fault of the old? You think it's when you say washed out? You think it's I'm talking to the mic a little bit. Do you think it's the slick tree? I mean, what is it that
The
washes
biggest
them out?
thing is they won't make a tree. The dogs that are washed out, you'll turn them loose for 2 hours and they'll never get treed. Con would just quit. He would go
Because there's no trees, or just because they can't find one,
because
or
they don't want to deal with everything that's going on around them.
It's old dog stuff.
When you first turn them loose, they're focused on tree and coons.
Mhm.
And the minute they're focused on them other dogs, or where they're at, or I'm not having any fun, they're either going to quit, they're going to run, and they're not going to get treed. They're gonna lose that extra gear that they had to have to win, and they have to have that extra gear. They got to be focused on tree and coons and move from one tree to another as fast as possible because all our stuff's timed. It's a time game. You have 2 hours, sometimes an hour, sometimes 90 minutes, depending on what registry you're hunting under and an event. But you got to be quick and efficient, and you can't have downtime. And burned out dogs have too much downtime.
Yeah, because you guys might only get an opportunity to get one or two treed, like score a couple of
Yes.
coons by the time you walk. A tree's got to be declared. It's got to close. You've got to get to it. You got to get to the next one. You could have a dog treed for 59 minutes
Oh yeah.
before you get there. You don't get another shot. So if they're not consistent and they're not accurate, you're hosed.
Exactly.
And the old dog thing, like I think we can relate, buddy. I don't know. I'd be curious to what you think because you've got some older dogs now, right? Like you're cycling through.
2 older dogs, yeah.
Right. And what I notice is like I've taken dogs that like what they've been on. You've hunted with them for years, and all of a sudden the old dog switch flips and it's like we're just going to stand here and wait for somebody else to do this. Or
they all hit their limit.
right? It's like the output, is it worth the reward? In those old dogs, it's a gamble, right? Am I going to do what I know needs done, or am I going to gamble like the slick tree, like you said? Is it there? I'm going to take a chance. Does that pup have it? I'm going to stand here and wait and take a chance. I've seen it a lot with older dogs here. And it's like once they start, I think you can fix it. Somebody can fix it. I don't have the time nor the willingness to do it. Once you hit that point, that's when you go to your next step in life. That's when you go to some kid wanting to start where that dog can be hunted alone. And I start thinking more like you guys probably do when you're wanting to get like, I want that dog at that point to be so independent that it just, I won't even hunt other dogs with
right
it.
now, I could take him out tonight by himself and tree 10, 12 coon. And he would recut, and he would do all the things he need to do. He wouldn't have any downtime. He'd move around good. But the minute I drive him 5, 6 hours from the house, and he knows he's in a cast, he's like,
wait.
nope, I don't like this. Yeah, he's done.
The dogs, it's funny because they're different. Like they are, I feel personally, they are very different and they are extremely similar in a lot of ways. The problem is you just got to find the balance and
you have
find
to have a dog
that
that's a little short on brains.
Little dirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, a little, but then those dogs are so frustrating. It's almost easier for me to just cycle through a different one every 2, 3 years.
Right.
And we're not like you guys where we got to have multiple dogs. I can just have 2. I can have 2 dogs and I can compete at any level. And most of these guys, you'll see guys that compete. There's all kinds of guys, like some of the ones I mentioned or something like that. They'll go through, they just have a good dog and it may be a different one every month. And they're really good. The Stollards, that's a family in Ohio that have the same style of dog and we don't even know the name.
Number 1, number 2, number 3.
Dog. It may be Bill or Joe or George or Sue or whoever, but you know what that dog's going to do because it's a Stoller dog, and they're not bred the same. They're not everything. These guys are such good trainers that they will just, the Dunlaps are the same way. They'll just have a dog that's going to do the same thing and going to compete. And then there's other guys that have one good dog, and you'll see them until that dog gets 7, 8 years old. And then all of a sudden they're not winning anymore and they disappear.
So what's the hardest part? So what is your challenge? What's your biggest challenge in that game?
It's heart, it's focus.
Do you think it's heart from the handlers? You know what I mean? Like, are you guys just not, and I understand why maybe you have to or not, but just from an outsider looking in, I'm just wondering in my head, I'm like, are you guys not making it fun? Are you guys, if it was your son in football and you were like, you got to do football and you know what I mean? You're driving, some of those parents drive those kids out, you know what I mean? Like, they could be really talented, but at some point when the talent becomes the job and the expectations, people start cutting up. So do you think is there anybody in the game that can still make it fun for the dog and is continuing a dog long-term or not? It's just a question. I don't know, but
no, I don't, because we expect so much of it and we expect more than the dog's capable of long-term.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we really do. It is on us, but that's also the game. I have to have a dog that is ready to compete. If I want to compete in sophomore super stakes in PKC at 16 months old to 19, 20 months old or whatever, 14 months old to 20 months old or however the super stakes lays, that dog's got to be ready to go tree coons and be alone and do all the things that I need to do.
Yeah.
And so if that dog's not capable of that, we're going to find one that is. Yeah. And that's no fault on the dog. The breeders are doing a really good job of making these dogs, available to us. But, that dog will be great in the hands of somebody else, but it ain't going to be great in the hands of me. And so that's the decision that you have to make with these young dogs. Do we want to move them on? And the real hard work starts on them whenever they're getting ready to get put in a crowd. Say they've treated 30 or 40 coons by themselves, and I'm getting ready to put that dog back in the crowd. That's when I decide if I'm going to sell it or if it's going to die at my house. Mm-hmm. If it's got the talent and it's got everything where if I can just get 2 good years out of it, I could win a pile of money. And then I've got 2 years to develop the next one.
And we should,
and I think
credit where it's due on that.
I think that's probably in lies the problem with me, is I view, and a lot of people probably on the big game side view that competition in the I can't think of what the word is, but I don't hunt for competition. I hunt for the enjoyment of it. There's a word people use for it, but
pleasure hunting.
Pleasure hunting. There you go. Yep. I hunt for the pleasure, whereas you're hunting for competition, and it's like you're requiring a dog to do much different for you, and so
wants an
those
employee,
things.
You want a hunting buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's what it boils down to. Like, and
I think in the last podcast, I said if it was a fairy tale, if it was a Disney, you guys would be the evil, stepsister.
Yeah.
But give the credit where it's due, because I will say this, and I'm telling you, there are a lot of people out there that you've never seen a coon dog.
Yeah.
Hands down, just like you've never seen a bear dog, you have never seen a cat dog, you've never seen a varmint dog, because I was that guy for a long time. And when you see an example of a true game-specific dog, whether it can do others or not, but it excels. Man, a real coon dog, I will say a lot of big game hunters, they look at coon as garbage. I mean, that's just the fact. That's a trainer. That's easy. That's nothing. Well, yeah, if you're going out and you're setting a dog up on a coon, yes, in theory, it's a lot of scent. It's a hot track. It's easier to locate than, let's say, a bobcat, in my humble opinion. But you're setting it up. You aren't asking that dog to go through a 50-yard thick pile of blackberries and then swim a slough by himself to do what you guys are asking. And I don't know if everybody's picked up on this, but we're hunting for trucks. Yeah. We're hunting for $100,000 now. Like, you guys, when you say you're hunting big money, like, that is not subject. Like, we're talking real money. And you've said it before in a podcast. I can't remember if it was on Houndsman XP or if it was on Joy's, but you were talking about the dog that's tied up behind the shed that's going to go to town and win is not around anymore.
No, they don't.
Like, which is crazy for us to think, because we all want to put our own limits on it, I think. And I was guilty of it too, until I got into a little bit of competition hunting that I could here on the West Coast. But like, you're not going to drag a dog. You're not going to take Big Jim, drive him out to Autumn Oaks and win. Like, it's just astronomical odds, we'll say.
They haven't seen it. They haven't seen it. And I've always said that treeing a coon behind the house is pretty low on the bar of things we need a dog to do. Just treeing a coon is some of the easiest things that a coon dog can do.
The act of treeing a coon.
Yeah, I can take one of my pups. I've got a litter coming here in about 3 or 4 weeks, and I can turn it loose right here at my house, and I can just let it run, and eventually it's going to tree coon. I don't have to do nothing to it. I can put a collar on it. I can worm it. I can turn it loose. It's going to tree coon, but it's not going to do it the way I want to do it.
Not at that level.
It's not going to do it 8 hours from the house in Kentucky or in Tennessee or in Texas or West Virginia or some of them places. And it's not going to do it in a crowd. And there's so many layers to it that people don't understand. And these dogs have to be exposed to all that as they get older and as they mature. And you have to be gradual in the pace about how you do it. Otherwise, you don't even know what you have. Yeah, you may have a gut. Duds is a perfect example. He just passed here 3 or 4 months ago. He's 13 years old and probably the most talented coonhound I've ever owned. And he was a train wreck half the time in a cast. Half the time he'd beat everybody so bad they would quit before the hunt was over. And half the time he'd be such a mess that I would quit before the hunt was over.
Roll the dice. We don't know what today.
But I would get people at my house and I would go unsnap him in the yard, and they would just ooh and ah about how great this dog was. And I'm like, he's not that good. I was like, go turn him loose in a strange spot where he hasn't ate for a week because he don't like being on the road. And we just add layers to it, just like any other competition does with the bird dogs and the retrievers and the beagles. They add layers to make it so much more difficult to do well. And then that's who you figure out who your champions are.
And then we play the other part of that, I think, because we're not talking $35 club hunts anymore.
Right.
I used to drive 5 hours to go to we had to go to Grand Champion or mini slams so we could run UKC registered and champion dogs.
Yep.
And we still might only have 2 dogs on cast.
Yep.
I mean, you drive 5 hours. I'd have to leave work early, get up there. You got dogs that just get pulled out of a box in time to go dump them in the woods. Yep. And then you're going to hunt them till 2 a.m, check in at the clubhouse, get a couple hours sleep. And then they're going to sit around all day doing nothing.
Yep.
But it was $35. Like,
exactly.
You don't even win your gas money. And now, I mean, what's the top entry fee right now?
$7,300.
So I don't want people talking about.
That's what you got to pay to play.
That's to get in the door.
There's 10 probably $6,500 hunts per year. There's probably $2,500 hunts. All the truck hunts are a $1,200 entry. These guys.
The investment's huge.
Yes, and these guys will have someone like an Ike Rainey or a Gerald Yoder or somebody where they hire handlers and they pay the entry, and the handler gets half, and they get a wage or whatever. But these guys want to win. They're not going to spend $30,000 on 5 entries because they're out there to lose. They're going to get the best dogs on the planet. And Spice Girl, for instance, she's 7 years old and she sold for $75,000.
Isn't that wild?
Yes. So these guys want to win. They're going to have the best dogs available. And then you got to take something like myself who has to raise it right here at the house. And I got to compete with those guys. Yeah. And that's hard to do. And so you got to have a special animal to do it.
Yeah, I can imagine you belly up to the blackjack
buying a
table.
Hunting truck, man. Like basically you're paying for my hunting rig for the next 3 years on a chance.
Oh yeah.
At one hunt, but I mean, what are you going to win? $100,000, a brand new Ford pickup. I mean, like my thing is I just want everybody to understand, as someone who's done a little bit of both.
Yeah.
It is not easy to be a competition coon hunter. I am not cut out for it. I've done it. We've made a night champion. We almost nighted out another one. I've traveled. I've done some of that. But holy cow, like the investment, I can dedicate time. I can't dedicate, if you want to get in the game right now, Josh, what is someone going to have to spend? If you want to say right now, Autumn Oaks is coming up in a week and a half. I want to buy a dog that's going to win it. You're going to spend $50,000 to $100,000.
Oh yeah, that has a better than 25% chance of winning. It's going to cost you at least $50,000.
Plus your entry fee.
To have a 10% chance of winning it, you're looking at $20,000.
And your handler fee, your entrance fee, your travel fees. Like these guys are on the road.
So are these guys gamblers? I mean, are you guys? I mean, what is this?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they are.
They hedge bets.
It's just like horse racing. These guys that have these big stables and they don't know how to ride a damn horse. But the good thing about our sport is
easy now. You're gonna piss people off. You're on the W podcast.
We're on our podcast now. Easy.
I piss people off. You can't have the guests pissing people off too. It's too much, Josh. Too much. Okay.
Interrupted before I could finish my sentence. Most of these guys are hunters. Ike Rainey loves to coon hunt. John Strickland, who's been on a big streak, he handles his own dogs a lot of the time.
Big streak.
He's got a stable of handlers as well.
Mm-hmm.
Gerald Yoder, one of the nicest people I've ever met. He hired all the Burdens, the whole family, and they hunt for Gerald. And most of these guys are coon dog men too, but they've got successful businesses. They've got, lives. They've got multi-million-dollar companies to run. They don't have time to go out and get a coon dog ready.
But this is their play. That's their play. This is their Vegas. If yes. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but this is a little gambling deal. And you can gamble on a small level.
Yeah. And they like to see their name in lights. They like to see, owned by Heather Island, owned by Ike Rainey, owned by John Strickland.
Mm-hmm.
They like to see that too, and that's great because it's good for guys like me who was selling, a dog that I don't think was going to quite make it. That was close. That was a $2,500 dog 6-7 years ago. I'd put a dog up for $2,500. I'd sell it quick. Now they're $10,000, they're $15,000, they're $20,000, whatever. And so I can take Angel out here, who's 11 months old, and maybe I don't want to do the work to put her in a crowd. Maybe she's going to win big. I want to start on my next project. I can get my money out of her now. I couldn't back then. I couldn't. I was just doing it for love of the game, 10 years ago. Now I can actually make a good talk. We're talking about side hustles earlier. Selling started dogs is a good side hustle for a guy that likes to train.
That knows how to do it, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And like I said, the money aspect, most people aren't running around. With that said, we're dumping that much, big game side.
Yeah.
Like
for fuel.
You look at it and go, man,
just as much as we do.
We just do it in different ways.
We don't get a payoff. Our payoff is not with dollars.
How many dogs on average does a big game hunter have? Say a guy wants to run lions, out west. How many dogs are you going to have? 8, 10, 12?
I say 6 to 10 usually.
Yeah.
Depends. If you're doing it as a business, you got to be 6 to 8 because you got to be able to. You got to. It's the lows that take out dogs. You know what I mean? Like you lose a couple dogs or whatever. If you're not careful and you're too tight, you only got 3 dogs. One wreck is going to really set you back. So, but
there's guys that do our sport with one dog that lives in their house. They don't even have kennels.
Yeah,
so awesome.
They're not paying to feed a pack, to worm a pack, to house a pack, to do all that stuff that you guys do. They're not destroying 2 trucks a year going through the mountains and all that stuff. We're all spending the same amount of money. We're just spending it in different ways.
Yeah. You guys have a chance to recoup it at the end. We just dump it in the gas tank and be like, well, where'd that money go?
See, you got to get smart like me and Josh because I just saw his new hunting rig.
Oh, yeah.
Smart man.
Oh, I love them things. That's the 4th one I've had, and I've been looking for another good one. We can't find them that aren't rusted out around here.
Dude, I just had one down the road for sale, like for $2,500. You want one? I'll make a trip out and deliver it.
I'll guarantee it.
Don't tell
40
Stuart. He wants them
I gave
too.
4,200 for this one and was happy to do it.
It's a tracker, right? Or is it a
Mhm.
sidekick?
No, it's a tracker.
And I just got I used to hunt out of a 4-door sidekick, and then I got this 96 tracker convertible, which you
Yeah.
can fit 6 dogs in the back of it. It's
That
pretty
I
sick.
did not know.
Oh, dude, yeah, you can fit 6 dogs in the back, but when they strike, because if you open the sunroof, right,
Yeah.
and your buddy holds it halfway up, it's like this big induction. It just funnels that air right down, and they will blow your eardrum out when it hits.
That's another thing. We don't allow ours to bark in the box, whether they strike something or not.
But 28 miles a gallon through the mountains, I
Oh,
will
yeah.
tell you, kept me going through this
And they will
whole
go
Biden gas
anywhere.
crunch.
Because I drive to every tree, either on a 4-wheeler side by side.
Now you got all in one.
That's the only way we can get dogs ready is we can't let them sit on a tree for 20 minutes. Because, I've got 2-3 hours to hunt a night.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've got to get up. I got to work tomorrow. I got kids I got to get to school. I got all this stuff. And so if I'm getting ready for an event, I can't spend all night walking.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I drive those sidekicks too, and trackers and whatever to people would be amazed at the places I can get those things.
Oh,
See, I was telling Jason, and I was talking to another guy, and I was like, we need to make a podcast on health and fitness and how to mix in health and fitness. And one of the tips was to not drive to the tree. One of the tips was to park about,
weren't we just talking about
400 yards? You know what I mean? Like if you can get close, if you can get 200 yards of tree, park 400. You know what I mean? Just walk that extra 200. You're over there like, I get right in there. Shit, 5 yards right here. Boom.
Yeah.
Here's the funny part: is we got to stay in because we'll walk in a pro sport hunt where the cast has to stay together.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my casts are anywhere from 5 all the way up to 9 miles. And you're talking in boots, chaps, vest loaded down with gear, all that
5
stuff.
to 9 miles?
5 to 9 miles in 2 hours. Or usually, by the time you get the dogs gathered up and trees scored and everything, it's 2.5 hours. I mean, it's a nonstop hard hike because it's time and you really want to hustle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so, we try to stay in pretty good shape. But then we'll get like me and Finley will be hunting together and we may got up and jogged 4 miles that morning, but we're not going to walk 50 yards of that dog. We're going to knock the tree over. We're going to tear something up or get the buggy stuck trying to get right to the tree, So I don't know. It's kind of defeats the purpose. But
I know I had to eat a little crow because I took Buddy's advice. Because when he said that, I'm like, forget that. I'm getting as close as I can. I don't want dog fights. I don't, luckily I have dogs that have not had issues, but all it takes is one and you got young dogs. So I'm like, I'm getting there as fast as I can. Well, I did go bear hunting the other night and I did walk an extra half mile just because. So thanks to you, buddy.
It's nothing to get at the end of these hunts and dogs are spread out at the end and where there's no leash lock and they'll be 2.5 miles apart. And one dog's treed in as you're just getting out of hearing of it. And then you walk another mile to the dog that was treed in before it, and then the hunt's over. Well, that dog that was 2.5 miles away, we still got to score it. And so we got to hoof it, turn around, walk 2.5 miles back to that dog. That's why most of these hunts are held in flat places because otherwise we would cut out half the damn population of coon hunters if we hunted in the hill.
Wow. No, that's interesting. I
even here, like the coon hunts, because we ran out of Mary's Peak in Corvallis area. And even on those, like you'd go down, if you made a drop, we were fortunate we had pretty much 2 spots, but I mean, at least we had 2, but you were walking 2 miles at a drop and then trying to get to another one because you'd already hunted it out in less than an hour. We were hunting 2 hours with 2 drops and you're, 5-6 miles maybe, but
that's the thing about our dogs with these big money events. You got to have such big blocks because we can't spot hunt. The little hunts, you'll spot hunt.
Mm-hmm.
You'll go, you'll trick.
What do you mean spot hunt? What?
You'll go, you'll turn all 4 dogs loose. In the little hunts, a lot of dogs will cover. Everything will be on the same tree. Say a local UKC event or even some of the small PKC events. And all the dogs will be on the same tree. You'll score that tree. You'll call timeout. You'll walk back to the truck. You'll drive to another spot, turn them loose again. Whereas in the larger events and the events that I usually partake in, we never hunt more than 1 spot. I mean, you got to have large tracts of ground because these dogs are going to scatter out.
It's like you said, just time getting to the tree, you'd burn your entire hunt up in one drop.
Yes, and an hour hunt, which is what PKC has through the week, Monday through Thursday night, most of the hunts are only 60 minutes. And, a dog that'll strike for 100 out of the truck and trail in there 2 miles deep running junk or just babbling or whatever and get treed at the end of the cast. A lot of times these other dogs don't have time to tree 2 coons. And so those dogs are hard to beat in an hour. But you'll still be hoofing your guts out for that hour because these dogs, to spot hunt, the dogs have to be together. And at the level that we're hunting at, they're just not. And so you can't really spot hunt.
Which makes it harder.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you guys want that deep and lonely.
Yes. And that's kind of going away a little bit. Those dogs that cover, because now that pro sports came about and they're viable and PKC has changed some rules and stuff, you got to be the first or second dog treed or your odds of winning that cast drop considerably. Yes. And so
circle points don't win
starting
anymore.
to get to where we want that dog that covers out of the truck. And we've got to where now we don't correct our dogs or we don't tie our dogs back. We don't reward them or anything. But say if I cut loose 3 dogs and I'm just pleasure hunting and they all pile on a real hot coon out of the truck, I don't do nothing. I just leash them up, walk them, recut them. We don't get onto them. We don't do nothing to them because you got to be that first or second dog treed. And if someone trees a coon on you out of the truck, you can't pout around and waste time trying to go get yours treed. So that's changing a little bit.
What about this? Because I caught myself and I had to get real honest about dogs when we were competition hunting them. Because I thought you had to help that dog. The misnomer is it's all handlers. It's all handlers. And I'm not going to say a good handler is going to be really hard to beat, hands down. It's happened to me. I drove a long freaking ways to get beat by a handler. I mean, we had a coon. It was one of those situations where like my dog was not treed 5 seconds before the end of the hunt. Someone declared, I did not. Mine had the coon in the end and I heard the dog move. But I had told myself, if I'm driving this far and I'm putting this on this dog, I'm going to let him hunt and I'm going to call the dog the way it is.
That's
because
why
you get in your own game. What was that?
That's why you lost.
That's why I lost. Exactly. Because I could, if I would have called it, I don't even think we would have. I think we still would have been 25 under to win. But it's such a different thing. And then your head starts playing games and you start jumping the gun and you're trying to put this on you as a handler too. I don't know. Maybe it's like that business thing. It's like you're trying to take it from pleasure to be here, but you got to make that jump because those guys that do it for a living, man, they can do it in their sleep.
Exactly.
It's pretty crazy to watch.
My theory is it's a team sport. This is a sport that is 50% handler, 50% dog.
Yeah.
I expect to be able to fill some of the holes that my dog has through handling, and I expect my dog to pick me up when I need it. I don't have any qualms to anybody who tries to pull something in a cast to win, as long as it's reasonable.
Right. What do you mean? You guys are losing me here. Like this sounds like this sounds like the cheating part.
Like,
but
it's not cheating, though.
Buddy's back in the conversation.
Cheating? Come on, tell me about this part.
It's not cheating. It's just like, for example, like there's rules, and I'm
imagine a catcher that frames a pitch.
Okay, I don't know baseball, but we'll try it. Okay, let's
imagine a catcher. You throw a ball out of the strike zone, and a catcher frames it really well to where he fools the umpire.
Okay,
that's a good teammate. That's what you want your catcher to do. That's what we're going for. All the major league catchers do it. It's the same way with the handlers. They're going to bend the rules. They're gonna sometimes break the rules if they can get away with it. And it is up to the judge to decide. And that's why being a firm judge and a good judge is so important in our sport.
So what's the consequence if you get caught?
Minus
if you get caught cheating, you get suspended, you get barred, you're not allowed to come back. But these guys that do this for a living, they can take it right to the edge. And that's where they know what they can get away with. They know what they can't.
So I guess give me an example of what you're. It don't have to be what you do, but what are you guys? If you're a judge, if you're the judge, if I'm over there and I'm judging, I'm like, oh, this Mike guy, you gotta watch him. This is what or whoever it is. Jason comes over here. Let's let's watch this guy. This guy likes to call this, and this is how he he pushes the line. This is what you need to watch for.
I've been a judge, and I've been a handler, and I've been all those things. And as a handler, you spend the whole 2 hours trying to influence that judge.
Okay.
You start out as I'm the nicest guy on the planet, and what are your kids doing? And man, that's cool. Your
social engineering.
I like
it.
Yeah, your daughter may be 200 pounds, and I'm going to talk about what a beautiful lady she is, and you're doing that. You're trying to influence that judge.
Right now, there's some judge listening to this going, "That son of a bitch."
Exactly. But I mean, you're that's part of the handler's job, is to get the judge on your side and to be affable and to be likable, to where if it's a 50-50 call, he's going to go your way.
I'm already out. Did you know this? I'm already done. God damn it.
But it's also the judge's responsibility to realize when that's happening. A judge has to be completely. When I go out and I'm judging my brother or Jed Finley or Steve Yant. Steve Yant's one of my good friends and one of the best hunters on the planet. And I made a call against him on a panel here a few months ago that just set the whole interwebs on fire. And because that's what I thought was right. And so as a judge, you got to do that. Right. But, as a handler, you're running your mouth. You're doing things that are trying to help your dog because, say I get to a tree, and this is one of the most common handler things. The leaves are on, and there's no coon in it. Everybody there that's done this for a long time knows there's no coon in it. And the judge is wanting to minus it. And you're talking that judge the whole 8 minutes of shine time, saying a coon can hide there. I seen this cast. I seen the same kind of tree back in '98, and we circled
excuses.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, no, I'm back on. I got a chance here.
In their mind, it's like a jury. If there's, it's got to be beyond reasonable doubt. And if you can put that doubt in their mind, you got a chance. To win.
And I've been influenced by it too. And I've looked back on trees that I've made a call on. I'm thinking, I may have made the wrong call there. Right. But as a judge in the time, you think you're making the right decision, and maybe I went towards that handler that was schmoozing me and telling me my fat daughter was beautiful and stuff. It's part of the game, and a lot of folks
crying aloud. You get a little girl in there starts crying.
But it's part of the game, and a lot of people don't understand that, and they view it as just pure cheating.
But it's no different than showing up to the racetrack with a tuned vehicle instead of something you just drug out of the backyard. Yeah. Like, you hire Richard Petty to get behind the wheel, you got a lot better chance than Joe Blow down the street. It's
no. I mean, these handlers are good, and that's what they're supposed to do. If I hire a guy and I spend $6,000 on an entry fee, I expect him to try to talk that judge into circle and minus tree.
Right.
I mean, I really do. And all these other guys
win with circles, right?
Yes. Well,
so, I mean,
but that never happens at our level.
Well, obviously, you guys got better.
I mean, it just doesn't happen. Usually, you make one circle tree, you're out of it.
Yeah.
Especially
what's a circle tree?
If it's
it could be there.
A coon could hide, but you can't see it. A big leafy oak.
Let me translate to big game guys. Oh, it was up there. We just couldn't find it. That's a circle tree, right?
We got those. I got those.
There's a hole in this one.
Mountain lion, I don't know.
Right. No, you can't. Most bobcats can hide really good. Just so you know, we're really good.
Bobcats are. I treat a lot of bobcats in the dark, but they'll usually look at you in the dark. I don't know what they're like in the daylight.
At least once.
No, they don't. Not in the daylight. They lay down.
They suck down flat, and you're binoculars.
It could be there. I'm telling you what, it could have been there.
It could
be there.
You'll hear that a lot in a cast. It could be there. And all it has to place is a coon that can hide, and you can't see it, and you're going to circle it. And there's a lot of trees that get circled that should be minus, and there's a few trees that should be minus that get circled.
I'm starting to offend me now. I got a bunch of circle bobcat trees. Hey, baby, I think it was there this time.
I think that is single-handedly the biggest turnoff for a lot of guys in the competition world. Is that's the piece that they take out of context. I'm like, well, you don't even have to have a dog that trees a coon to win. It's a bunch of BS. You guys have
podcasts like that I heard one time, and I got irate.
Oh, I'm sure.
What was that?
It was a while back. A year and a half. I can't remember
who it was. We were talking about.
It was some guy from Texas that had running walkers, had running dogs.
No,
I don't remember his name because I hold a grudge like crazy. he just went through this whole spiel about how competition hunting has ruined coon dogs and all this stuff. And I'm just like, ugh. And he probably went to a local hunt where guys circled a bunch of minus trees that never would have happened at the level that we
At the
compete
level.
at. And he just can lump that all in as competition coon hunting. Just like, a bear dog guy does
I did
something
the
wrong.
same thing.
Yeah, I mean, everybody does it. I get it, but I'm just like, that is not the truth.
I knew that's why I wanted to bring it up.
It hurts
I'm like,
my
I
feelings.
guarantee you that is a hot button for
That is a
because
hot.
you guys are passionate.
Yeah.
And it's real.
Everybody
Like
else with dogs are.
that one for me,
Oh.
I mean, I could have called that differently, and who knows what the outcome would have been. You know,
Mhm.
nobody cheated me. Somebody
Right.
knew the game better than I did.
But do
And
you
they-
still feel
Good,
dirty about it, Josh? Because I feel dirty when I'm making excuses. Like, I know.
Because
it's
when you think about it, though, say my dog's treed 3 coons and your dog's backed on 3, and it hasn't done nothing but follow my dog around all night. And I tree another coon or another tree, and you come in late, and if I get minus, you can still win this cast. Who's got the best dog?
Yep.
There? The guy that's treed 3 coons or the guy that's covered 3 and covered my slick 2? Because if the scores turn out the way they are, if I'm say in PKC, if I'm 100 and say you strike for 100 and you tree for 75 3 times, I strike for 50 and tree for 100 3 times, I'm out.
Yep.
You've beat
You gotta
me.
get first strike.
Yes. And so say I do that and I'm on my last tree and maybe you struck for 50 or 25 or something like that on the last one or whatever. I've still treed 3 coons to your none, and you can still win if this tree gets minus. Well, if that's my handler on that borderline tree, he's throwing a fit. He's jumping up and down and he's throwing his stuff and he's going to bring a panel out there and he's going to do all the
Right.
things that borderline on being barred to get me that W.
That's a good handler.
Yes, that's a good handler. And these guys do that. And some of the best guys, I had a cast last summer with Dual Murphy, who handles for Heather Island, Jake Moore, who at that time was handling for Ashley Oxendine, and one of the Perrimans. And all pros, all good, all great guys. And we had the most easy, fun cast going into it. And they are always like that until the last 5 minutes because we all got
When it
we all
counts.
got coon dogs. We've all got good dogs, and it's the last 5 minutes that decide these casts most of the time. And pretty soon they're bending rules and they're trying to do. And I'm judging, and I can recognize it because I've been on both ends of it enough. And I don't hold it against them. They're just trying to get their dog the most breaks that they can get. And we ended up all treeing 1 coon, and the dog that struck first out of the truck won.
Now, at the end of that, you guys are kind of like, my bad. You know what I mean? After you're like, after
Buy
the
each
thing,
other
like, oh, my
gifts
bad. Like,
afterwards.
Mark
kinda-
Gilmore. I remember this. Mark Gilmore, if he's listening to this, I enjoy hunting with Mark. I've always enjoyed competing and judging with Mark. We were at Texas at a big hunt. I think it paid $40,000. It was a $5,000 entry or $2,500. I can't remember what it was. And I had won a couple casts, but I had gotten beat going into the semifinals. And so I took a judging job for the semifinals, and I'm just judging this cast. And we come to this tree, and it's a slick. I mean, there's nothing in it. And if Mark can just get this circled, he's going to win this cast. And I stick to my guns, and I circle the tree, and man, Mark is on me like crazy. Coon can hide here, coon can hide there, and I'm telling him no, and he's chewing me out pretty good. And pretty soon I minus the tree, and we get done within the cast. We get all the dogs gathered up. We get to the truck, and Mark comes up as I get in the truck, and I didn't have no grudge. You can't hold a grudge once the time quits.
Yeah.
And Mark comes up, shakes my hand. He goes, "Hey, no hard feelings. I was just trying to help my dog. You know how it goes." I said, "You betcha, Mark." I said, I expect it from you. You're always packing a good dog, and this time you got beat, and that's the way it is." And so yeah, you get some guys that say, the good ones, when it's over, it's over. The sorry ones, they hold a grudge.
yeah.
They're the ones calling Monday morning.
They're the ones that posted on Facebook on Sunday.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are like, I got screwed. Those are the sorry ones. Those are usually the guys that just don't realize what happened.
And then guys like me see that and go, oh man, them competition
Exactly,
guys.
and that's why I get so mad at people when they post
He's
stuff on
still mad.
Facebook.
You can see it.
Oh, Michael Moody, may he rest in peace. Good friend of mine, passed here recently. We just had the Michael Moody Memorial event. It was a $100,000 event down in Junction, Illinois, and I've always gotten along. He was a great human being, good man, great father, great everything. You couldn't ask to be a better human being than Michael Moody, and I still believe that. But he posted one time. There's a rule against climbing a tree to score it.
Oh, really? You can't?
Yes. You can't climb a tree or disturb a den or things like that to score it.
Oh, as a handler, you can't climb a tree. Not a dog if it climbs
Nobody
a tree.
can climb a tree to score it in PKC. And this was a big event. This was the same event that I talked about with Mark Gilmore, I believe, same year down in Texas. And there was the tree had been broken off, and it was leaning down on the ground, and it wasn't much to climb, but you had to climb it to look in this hole that his dog was treed on, and she had a coon. She can't score it. You know, it's the rules. Well, Justin Caldwell, who's another good friend of mine, videos Moody climbing the tree, scoring it, the judge climbing the tree, scoring it, and them plus and B up, and he immediately questions the call. He says, hey, that's climbing a tree. You can't score that coon. That's a circle tree. You got to recut it. And so he takes it back to a panel. The panel watches the video. They all agree. Moody climbed the tree. And Moody gets on Facebook the next day and just throws a fit. Posts the video and everything. Of course, half the people are like, that's climbing a tree. And half the people are like, no, you got screwed. But everybody that sees that's not privy to our world thinks, oh, these guys are all crooks and they're doing it the wrong way. And maybe I haven't gone out of my way to establish the fact that we aren't. But, you know, I seen that, and I had a big beef with Michael for a while. And I called him, and being the human being that he is, he did call me back and say, you know, I get it. I understand. I probably shouldn't have put that on there and stuff like that. But yeah, posting on Facebook is my biggest pet peeve. You know, when you're beat, you're beat. There's another big event the next weekend. You know, just go win that.
If you're that good, go win the next one.
Exactly. Your dog's that good. You're going to get your name in lights. You don't need to frown on other people doing it, because the whole thing for me is to get more people doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we're right up here at $1.40.
We got to like 40. 2 things on the list. That went way too fast. That is one of the fastest.
Jason sent me a list like I was going to pay attention.
No, that's fine. It was just
I couldn't find the list. I don't know if you noticed me looking like
Buddy doesn't check my emails.
Was it email? Was it
yes,
Teams?
it was emailed.
Was it text?
It was emailed this morning, and there was a follow-up email to remind you.
What does a comp dog look like now compared to the past? Oh, well, the one thing, the dark ages, when we got a bad rap for slick tree.
We covered that pretty good, didn't we?
Yeah, no, that's why I was going to just refer back. That one was really interesting to me. So if anybody hasn't listened to the Fueled by Joy Dog podcast, that's probably on part 1, huh?
Yeah.
I would say. So you got to go back.
So. It's in part 1.
What's that?
Which the next one will be airing before this one. So part 2 will be out tomorrow.
Where you guys tomorrow. Were talking about.
What is today? Is it Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday.
I don't know, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, part 2 will be out tomorrow.
I can listen to what I said.
Yeah. You guys were talking about, because there was a period in time where competition dogs got a bad rap because accuracy became an issue. And that's where it got into bad taste. And now we're on the second generation of that in the West Coast, where that's all we've heard growing up. Yep. Some of us have brought out some competition stuff to bring in. But there was definitely a period of time, I would say, wouldn't you, 90s?
Yeah, late 90s, early 2000s, where these dogs did treat too much.
Yeah, you went from like the lippers and, the real first big boom on the scene to and everybody,
the all grand pedigree, which another question I was looking at, papers don't make a dog and all that stuff. But the all grand pedigree in UKC kind of, and no fault to UKC, they're a great organization, but that kind of contributed to that, where you could take these dogs out and you could talk the cast into seeing a coon that wasn't there, and these dogs made a bunch of trees. And the squirrel dogs are kind of going through a portion of that right now too, where they're looking for dogs that just get treed because it wrecks a cast. But we got away with that when the big money hunts came, and these dogs knew they had to be, because one coon still beats a bunch of circle trees. And so the judging got better, everything got better, and these dogs right now are probably, these top tier dogs are as accurate as I've ever seen. I'm 43. I started when I was 5. And so these are as accurate as any dogs I've seen since the late 80s.
And probably having the money makes that
Yes.
accountability rougher. I mean, you start handing out,
Yep.
10, 20, 50, 100 G's. You can't just play favoritism and, if the cheater wins
honest.
all the time, that
Yes.
people aren't going to jump in on that game. There's got to be some serious stakes
these kennel clubs got to
transparent.
have entries to make these hunts go.
Yeah,
And I'm not paying $6,500 entry if I think I'm going to get cheated out of it.
right.
I'll lose it.
It
I'll take a chance on losing it, but not getting cheated out of it.
It has to be above board, and it is. 99.9% of any hunt that's over a $300 entry, the best dog is usually going to come out on top. And so the best dog trees coons, and that's what we're all looking for. And so everybody started breeding, training, everything for that. And next thing you know, here we are.
It's
Accurate
not
dogs.
a poor man's
Quick
sport
and accurate.
anymore. Because I know I've talked with my wife and a couple people here recently. I said, someday when we can, I want to own me a dog that we could take to the show. I'm not going to handle it. I don't have it. Like, I will never make a coon dog. What?
I'll sell you one. Yeah, I got one. I got one that just fit you just perfect, Jason.
I'll bet you do. You realize I deal with dog jockeys all day, right?
That's right.
I told her we're going to find us a black and tan, and we're going to do something with it. So I'm hoping that buys me enough time.
That Greg Cover from Utah comes to them big hunts.
Yeah.
Spend $4,000 entries, and he hunts black and tans.
Yeah, I met him, I think, at Oaks, actually. He's a customer of ours.
Yep.
And I met him over there, and he's a super nice guy, but if somebody's got a really nice black and tan they want to partner on, I just got to make
There aren't very many of them. If you listen to today's podcast, actually, I've got my email is blown up, and because my subject is why do walkers win so much?
Because there's a lot of them.
Oh, yes. Well, that's one of the reasons, and there's a reason there's a lot of them. You're going to have to listen.
I will.
But no, it's a unique sport inside of dog sports. But one of the common misconceptions is that we don't like all dog sports. To me, what you guys do with Western big game stuff and bobcats and, my Wisconsin bear hunting buddies and my Southeast bear hunting buddies and the mountain lion guys, I love it. I think it's fantastic. We coon hunters, Eastern coon hunters have a lot of respect for all those guys. And one of the misconceptions is that we don't, but we know they're talented dogs.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, what do you need to? We haven't talked about Joy much, but what? How has that been going for you? You just started with Joy, and what's your job there?
I started with Joy almost 2 years ago. I started out as a regional sales manager. Now I pretty much I do their podcast. I do all their hunt coverage. Joy's expanded exponentially in the last 5 years, and I don't get all the credit for that. Wade's done a fantastic job with Joy and High Standard. Our sales reps, our office staff, we all do. I mean,
how many employees? How many people are there that work?
7.
7.
Yes. And what people don't understand is we're a small company. We're not Purina. We're not Victor. And there's a lot of benefits to that. When you buy a bag of Joy dog food, you know that you're helping the PKC Youth Fund. You know that you're helping somebody in the office, pay for their kids' T-shirts. It's not like we're just putting this into a big corporate fund. We're lucky to be a small company. I don't want to stay that way sales wise, but I want to stay that way everywhere else. It's a family. We know pretty much every customer. We know every distributor. We know all that stuff. And that gives us the ability to back things that are controversial, like hound hunting, stuff like that. And so,
yeah, I think that's important. Sometimes people don't realize there's this, you're talking about, Somebody keeps trying to get a hold of me here. I don't know. The flash, you know what I mean? And dog food kind of, I sometimes feel like gets that too, where it's like everybody's looking for that latest, newest thing. Sometimes it's price. So, you know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. Like right now, I mean, the last couple of years, dog food has been rough, you know, as far as price and diesel and, you know, the transportation. And what I like about it is the consistency, you know what I mean? And I'm a real consistent kind of person. So like I tell Wade, I'm like, dude, I just want to know that I'm getting the same stuff that I got last year, the same stuff that I got the year before. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want you changing things, trying to tweak. It's like, get a consistency base, because that's what we're working on. And I know guys, and I'm not going to say, one of my friends or whatever was talking about throwing away 6 or 7 bags of dog food because they got a new batch and their dogs just wouldn't hold up on it. And I'm like, I don't want that to happen to me. You know what I mean? Like, if I buy a pallet of food, I want to know that I'm good on that food. And it's really hard to get a new, you know, buy a bunch of food and then be like, oh, we're just going to try it out. You know what I mean? So that consistency is really important to me.
Well, when I've made my living in this business of hounds on my reputation. And when Wade and Chip had called me about coming on with Joy Dog Food, I told them, I said, look, you can't be changing anything.
Yeah.
I can't go out there and tell people it's going to be this and it not be that.
Yeah.
You know, my word is very important to me, and how I'm perceived is very important to me. And so, you know, he promised me it's the same formula all the time. We're going to do our best to make it the same way all the time. And that's what you're going to get. And so, as a dog man first, that's what I wanted, because I switched about a year before I went on to Joy, or before I signed on with Joy. And I'd switched from Purina, which is another great company that does a lot for coondog sports and stuff like that. So I don't want to knock them; they're a great company. And I'd fed either Purina One or Pro Plan for 20 years, and I switched to Joy. I liked the food. I knew what they were doing for us and for dog sports and for hounds and for anybody that uses
What
a dog.
made you switch?
My brother, he's a houndsman too, and we don't always see eye to eye. I love him to death. We live 8 miles apart and don't even hunt together.
Yeah.
But he's a great human being, and I trust his word when it comes to dogs. And he said, hey, you know, I've got Joy. You ought to try Joy. You ought to try Joy.
Right.
Chip had got him signed on, and, you know, I went and bought a bag and I liked it. I started with the puppy back in 2019, and next thing you know, that's all I fed. And my dogs do just as good. We've got them in kennels. I know what the stool is. I know what the consistency is. You know, you guys are just like me. We pay attention to what we're putting in our dogs' mouths. And so, you know, I like the company. I like what they stood for. And next thing you know, here I am working for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, like I say, that is critical, because I switched, and we were probably feeding Purina too. I switched for price because I had, it was actually John Belosier that contacted me and was like, hey, and I'll just say he was feeding Black Gold at the time. And the dealer that he was getting it from, he called and says, hey, I need another pallet of dog food. And they're like, okay, well, that'll be about, you know, we'll probably have some more in 2 months. And he's like, no, you don't understand. Like, I need a pallet of dog, you know, when I need dog food, I need dog food. And they're like, yeah, well, we just don't have any right now. And he's
Me
like,
either. Weird.
it's just weird how that happens. I don't have any either. And,
That makes two of it.
But I have money, and I don't know if you've heard of it, but we can usually exchange this for said dog food.
Right. And so we found a distributor or whatever down in Southern Oregon. And so we'd buy half a truck, or, you know, how many pallets. He has 20 dogs. So he goes through a lot of food. And so we kind of made this little co-op thing where we were able to get different people together and bring in half a load from this distributor, or I don't know what you call him, as a distributor, dealer, whatever. But that guy's not doing it anymore. But it worked out, and it was like, oh, and I, at the time, I wasn't as picky as I am now. You know what I mean? Like I was just like, right on, dog food.
Yeah, right. It's food. Now we're analyzing dog crap every day to make sure it all looks the
That's
same.
right.
We're sending pictures to your buddies.
Yep.
So I'm not judging people. I went through that, and some of the things I've learned in the process was it's really comforting for me to have dog food set up like 9 months to 10 months or whatever, and not have to worry every, oh, we got to pick up another bag of dog food or whatever. It's like that, especially going through COVID. Dude, I'm telling you what, I was looking at it going like, I could eat some dog food if I had to. You know what I mean? Like, the dogs are okay. I may not, I don't know where I'm going to get my chicken.
So good, even you could eat it.
Right. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm like,
that on the Joy ad back in the day.
and so that was one thing that I found was really, it gave me peace, just having a pallet of dog food or enough dog food that I didn't have to stress about it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was learning how good it was. Like, it is really good feed. Like I watched my dogs hold up on it. John Belozier, I know his dogs hold up on it. And so it was a set of circumstances that kind of brought us to it. But one of the things that we've learned, and that, John says it best, is he's like, there's not a dog here when you talk about, pricing dog food. And he's like, you can't go pick a dog out of my kennel and I'll risk that dog for $800 to save $800 a year in dog food. He's like, there's not a dog on this place, because if it's not worth the $800, to save that little extra bit, then I probably shouldn't be on my place anyways. Any dog I got here, and I'm the same way. Like, there's not a dog that I would let leave my place right now for $800. And so whenever somebody's like, oh, I can save you an extra, $1 a bag or $2 a bag, I'm like, yeah, that's not the motivation for me. I want a really good. Now, I'm not saying there's not other good food. There's other other places that have really good food and good feed, and so it doesn't have to be high standard and joy. Like, I'm sure you guys want it, as many people as you can, but feed a good dog food. You know what I mean? Put some thought into it. Don't just. I mean, I don't want to tell people what to do, but if you're really wanting something out of your dog, the house blend down at Costco is probably going to change year over year or whatever. They're not looking at the dog; they're looking at the cost and how they can keep the cost down. And so that's just been something that I've learned over the years.
Well, look at what we spend. Look at what we spend. What's a new Garmin cost? And
let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about people. What are you talking about?
Less
It's
than dog
crazy
food
talk
on this podcast, brother.
Yeah, exactly. We're just talking about dog food, okay, Josh? You keep it in your lane. Let's not talk about my lane. You stay in your lane, okay?
It's true. It's the best investment you're gonna get.
We got people listening in their cars with their wives next to them, Josh. Let's not tell them about that, okay?
Well, all I'm gonna say is it's worth it.
I will tell you this. I guarantee you it is, because Buddy fortunately hooked me up with High Standard, and I was going through a battle where I was switching feed like it was sport mix, and we caught the problem before. I said, there was like 3 or 4 of us that it's like, there's something wrong with this food. There's something going on. Dogs dropping weight. We were finding cat food in it. We were finding all kinds of crap. So we switched from that to another, and then there's another, and then all of a sudden Tractor Supply didn't have your dog food. They were out of Victor for the week. So you're changing your dog food every week. And then Buddy gave me a pallet of that High Standard, and instantly, I would say within 3 weeks, I saw a major difference in the dogs. And they have held, even during the wait time in between season, and I've had a lot going on, they hold consistently if you do your part and you really watch them. But I was sweating it, because when I run out, I'm at the point I'm going to go down to the local place where we get it. We got to get it at Sportsman's Warehouse. And I'm going to pay a lot more for it from there, but I'm going to pay that for however many months I got to hold off till Buddy gets another truck out here.
Yeah.
It's just,
we want you to. And I know dog food's expensive. Like I said, I pay for it just like everybody else, all my customers do. And we know it's too high, but we can't sacrifice quality just to get a cheaper dog food. We can't. Otherwise, there's no sense of me even being here. Wade what people don't understand about Wade is Wade's a houndsman first and then a dog food operator. When Wade calls me, he calls me every morning, and it's not, hey, how much dog food did you sell, or how much this, or, you know, we need to get another truck out. It's how the dogs look last night. You know, did you hunt your pup? You know, and to me, it's about relationships, just like it is with your guys' business. It's about relationships. It's about building that bond with your customer and knowing who you're getting your stuff from. Is it American made? Is it locally sourced? Is it all those things? And I take that into account with every purchase I make. Nobody likes going into effing Walmart. So don't buy your dog food in there. Get it from the feed store down the road. And yes, we would prefer, you know, Joy or High Standard, but at least get it someplace where you know you're helping the local economy and you're helping houndsmen. Because, you know, yes, there's a lot of good dog foods. I could name 10 off the top of my list that are great dog foods. And we don't want all the pie. We just want a piece of it.
It's a big piece.
Yes. We want the biggest piece we can get bigger, just like all the other companies do.
The biggest piece our bellies can hold.
That's right. But, you know, you're spending, you know, thousands of dollars every year on your dogs. What's another $5 a bag?
Right.
To know that you're getting it off someone that you trust and someone that you know has your best interests at heart. To me, it's worth it. Some people it ain't, and that's fine either way. We just want our customers to know that we got their back.
And our sport. You guys put a lot back into, I mean, it's like I think of Buddy and W, even when we were competitors. I would always tell people I can't think of anybody that puts more back into our sport in Western hunting than Buddy. Yeah. And you guys, I know Joy and High Standard does a lot to put back into our houndsman community too.
Yeah, we're houndsman first. Dog food company second. Yeah. And I think that's important to know who you're buying your stuff from. Some people don't see it that way. It's a cost thing. And I understand some people can't afford a $50 bag.
I got one question, and you may not be the right guy for this.
If not, I'll make you think.
Make something. You just
make it up.
You're like trying to
slick handle him, Josh.
Exactly. Pull on a slick handle.
He won't even know what hit him.
A lot of people are using this Eukanuba. It's like a 30.
Innochuck.
Yep.
Isn't that different than not the same?
Eukanuba is way different.
Eukanuba is a different company. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm not going to edit that out. I don't know. But
no, you're sorry. Eukanuba.
Anyways, I think you're talking about Innochuck.
Yes, exactly.
That's
okay, so
talking about.
And people are having good luck with that, and that's fine. One of the things that I just sit back and think out loud, I'm like, gosh, dang it. It feels like it's a new, I don't want to say gadget, but you know what I mean? Like I'm always suspect that somebody has something new figured out. And I'm like, man, are we going to be running in? And it's the same thing I talk, to my wife. And I'm like, you know what, that 32, whatever that new hot blend is, they're like, oh, you don't have to feed as much, whatever. And I'm always getting people, hey, buddy, you need to try this. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to try. I have something that works. Yeah. They're like, well, you'll save a little more money because you don't have to feed as much. And I'm like, dude, I already don't feed as much to what I do. Sometimes I feel like I don't want to say I'm starving my dogs, but the amount that I'm giving them is not very much. I'm like, if I start, I can pour some to it, when I'm really hammering. But a lot of times right now, I'm like, man, it feels like I'm just like a couple kibbles and I'm done. And so it always makes me wonder, what were they feeding before they went to that? Because it's not apples to apples a lot of times. You know what I mean? Right. So you look at it and you go, well, yeah, I had to cut my feedback way back when I went to High Standard, And so, and it's not that it's like, oh, this one's better than the other one. If you find one you like, I don't care. I'm not here to sell anybody and make anybody switch. I just want to be honest. I'm having really good success and luck with it. And there's things I like about it. I like having a pallet of it in the garage. I really like, and that's really hard to store that much. I'll be honest. Anybody that is thinking about it, it sounds good. But the first year I did it, I didn't have the means to store this shit. And I had it in my barn. And I mean, the size of the rats I would watch go in and out eating my dog food was impressive. Like
Rodents love high standard
Templeton
dog
just
Oh,
rolling out the
dude.
barn.
I would put 5-gallon buckets of water out there, and I'd go out there and I'd have 6 rats in it,
Yep.
and I'm talking big rats, field rats or whatever, not mice. We're not talking little field mice. I mean, we're talking these guys were
River
packing
rats.
some food away,
small possums.
Yeah.
and it was almost like I should have got a gun out and started shooting them because they would be hammering that dog food. I'm just thinking, whoa. Anyway, so I got these shipping crates. It's like a plastic shipping crate that I put it in, and that seemed to stop it. I don't have any issues with rodents anymore. But so these are things that I've learned the hard way. It's like you can't just buy a pallet, just stick it in the garage and be like, yeah, right on, because those rodents find it very quickly, surprisingly. So that's one thing I like is there's challenges with it. The price it's competitively priced, compared to
For the quality,
other things. If you had to go buy it at the store, I'm not gonna lie, it's
Sticker
tough right now.
shockable.
Any kind of dog guy that has that many dogs is looking at a way to buy it. And so I would talk to your feed store and I would be like, hey, I want to buy this. They can normally do some discounts. They're not going to, like if you buy it a pallet at a time and you order it and you work with these guys, they'll find you a better way to get a deal on it. You know what I mean? I'll use Sportsman's Warehouse. I'm not paying $70 a bag to survive off of this. You got to talk to the manager or whoever who brings it in and ask them what a pallet price is or a 10 bag price is. And all those guys, that's how the dog food world works, is they're moving 10 bags at a time, not one.
Yep. Yeah, it's all about bulk. You're going to get the more you can buy, the better price you're going to get per pound. As far as the Inukshuk stuff, I know Inukshuk is a great, probably quality dog food that your dog's going to do great on.
Right.
But it's not even American. And it's one of those things that just you get aggravated, and I'm just like, here Joy is spending all this money on dog sports, and we give back so much, and we're contributing to youth funds, and we're supporting houndsmen and stuff like that, and then guys go and buy a pallet of dog food that doesn't even come from the United States, let alone from a houndsman. And
right.
it is frustrating, and we see it. You can't help if you're in the business that I am to see it.
Yeah.
But I just want to scream at the top of my lungs that you're not even buying an American product. All your money that you're spending on every pound of dog food you buy is going to Canada. Not all of it, probably only 98% of it. But I don't get it.
And they're the ones
I've
asking
always
for handouts.
yeah.
They want you to
I always
sponsor.
if I want to go buy a new Garmin, I'm going to go to W Hound Supply because they support hounds, or I'm going to go to one of these other suppliers because they're hound dog people.
Right.
They're local business. I know who I'm buying it from. I'm buying it from Buddy and Jason. I'm not buying it from somebody that's living in a high rise in another country. And that's important to me, and it's not important to everybody. Everybody looks at cost, or everybody looks at the next big thing, and so it's just part of the business we have to deal with. We don't like it any more than anybody else. I always say, if you're not going to buy Joy, buy another great American dog food. There's Purina, Victor, Pride, you name it. There's a bunch of good American dog foods that your dogs are going to hold up good, and they're going to do what they need to do. But yes, do we want you to buy Joy in high standard? You bet. But if not, at least buy from somebody that doesn't say a boot. They say about. You might as well be buying it from Mexico or China. It's no different. Your money leaves the country, and that money does not go back into hound sports.
That's a compelling argument.
I have a tasteful joke, but
when
it
money goes into W, it goes to W Hound Supply. But also, you guys give back. When it goes into another hound supply business or another.
What's your
either
thoughts
local food store.
specifically? So my question, that's actually a pretty argument. You're a lawyer in your past. I don't know. Oh yeah, you're
he
using
was
that
a
judge
salesman.
shit. That's what it
right.
is. You're
I'm a good
trying to
hand.
sell the judge. I like
Good
it.
hand.
What's your thoughts on that blend? Like when you get into the 32, like that seems new to me. Is it or isn't what?
So
I don't
hot.
think. I mean, because there's all kinds of. There's been 38, 38 even. In dog sports, you got to remember that it wasn't very long ago, 100 years ago, our dogs were fed cornmeal.
Right.
You know, hounds were fed cornmeal in the southeast. Hounds were fed all kinds of different things. So genetically, those dogs are different. When you get into sled dogs, that's a different story. They have a high protein, high fat type metabolism where they do better on certain deals. But with hounds, I don't think the protein's necessary. Your fat stores and your carbohydrate source are important. They're gonna do well with an energy source. Our hounds, a lot of them have downtime. You guys have an off season. You're gonna want to switch proteins at that time. But when that dog's an adult and that dog's got its muscle built, and that dog has everything it needs, it doesn't need a real high protein diet. I don't think. And that's not coming from Joy Dog Food. That's just coming from a houndsman. I think our 24/20 formula is great, and I think whenever a dog is getting ready to get back out, and a young dog at 30/20 is perfect. But when our dog's getting ready to get back out and get in shape, at 30/20 is great. But I don't think they need it year round.
I don't even know. Like I said, there's so many different blends. I stick with the 26/18, and
that's a great year-round formula, and it's different because where you get that 26% protein and 18% fat is gonna change. Say if I have a bunch of beans or something like that in the dog food formula, that's protein, but a dog doesn't digest it the same.
Yeah.
And so digestibility is important. How they absorb that is important. And you want your protein coming from a meat-based source because that's how dogs are going to build muscle and repair torn muscle and things like that and grow. Yeah. And so the best thing to do is not look at the protein to fat ratio as it is to look at how that dog absorbs that feed and how that dog grows and how that dog builds muscle and all that stuff, because they're all going to vary.
Yeah. Yeah. Dog food is one of those things on social media that everybody's got an opinion about. And
tell me about it.
I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want your job, to be honest with you. But
I don't want my job some days either.
but it's just one of them things. It's like, and I'm used to arguing, and that's one that I'm like, I got no argument, man. I don't know. I don't know that I want to know.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have the patience or the time to go down and study. I just look at the risk reward for me, and I go 38, whatever. You know what I mean? This really high, just whatever it is. I'm like, man, you don't see a lot of that, and I'm like, man, is it worth the risk of my dogs? Yeah. And for me, it's not. Now, there's other people, and I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not saying it's good. I don't know. I mean, it may be the best thing, and it may take 5-10 years, and we're going to see the differences. I was just curious about that because I don't know that
the most important thing is just look at the results.
Yeah,
everybody
people are having good results out of some of that stuff. So the short term results look good. Like I you know what I mean. Like it doesn't. I don't see anything that makes me go, oh, I got to be on that. You know what I mean? I've seen that change when I switched to my stuff, high standard from where I was. I seen the change where I feed less. My dogs hold up. Everything looks good. I found a food that I like. There's plenty of people that have a food they like, and I'm happy. Awesome. Whatever. But then people try and sell me on it. And I'm like, dude, I'm good. I don't need to go, keep tinkering and keep playing, because at some point you got to find that sweet spot. You got to find the downsides. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we were too much of that. That was too hot. I ended up getting some liver issues with dogs or whatever it is, and that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Yep.
You know, I want a consistent.
Kidney issues have been big, especially with the grain-free diets and stuff. But you know, the bad thing is you don't know until 6-7 years down the road sometimes. And so, you know, I look at what Joy's done and what, you know, Purina before that has done. And those are the two brands that I suggest. If you're not going to feed Joy, I suggest you feed Purina. They're a good company. They're great people. We have a very good working relationship with them. They support our sport. They support hounds. They do a lot of great things. So yeah, they know what they're doing. We know what they're doing. A lot of these dog food companies are great companies, and it's just like you guys. It's a lot about relationships. You know, just know who you're buying it from, and I think that's our selling point. We've been successful with it since I don't know 19. It was after World War II sometime.
I could probably tell you.
Yeah,
'cause I've been finding
Yeah.
a bunch of your guys' old ads. That's been one of the cool things about going through these old magazines.
Yes.
Is like the artwork and the ads for dog food. Back then, you could literally buy 100 pounds of dog food for $1.50.
Yep.
Like, blows my mind. But you see these old, cool clip art ads from, you know, Joy Dog Foods in there and Purina. And it's like, they have been involved in hound sports since the 30s, 40s.
I just
50s.
bought a Joy clock or a Joy thermometer for like $300.
Really?
That was on Alan Gingrich from UKC found it at an antique sale. It sent me a picture. I'm like, just buy it.
Yeah, right.
Buy it. I said, I'll peddle it to Chip Kosher for twice what I gave for it.
There you go.
So I'm gonna pick that up at Automogs. But we do have a great logo. We have great marketing, and we've got a brand that people know, and that's important. And we're proud of it. But also, we just because you got a brand don't mean you got quality, and so we want to make sure we got the quality too.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's true, and it goes up and down. Like I've seen where even we've you know, as a business you go through different phases, and when you're like, you gotta kind of cost save or whatever, and sometimes it's like, too much. You know, we dialed that dial too much. We got to back it off.
Then you got to back her off a little.
Yep.
Yeah. It stinks, but it's part of the game. It's part of the business.
You make the long haul, though.
Fickle creatures.
Yeah. Well, I got to get off here. This went way longer than I thought.
We've only been on here over 2 hours. Like, we made his day way longer. We don't.
Well, you guys should like jump into a 2-parter, and then you ain't got to do anything.
We got a 3-parter, man.
My job just got easy. Thanks for the vacation, Josh.
There you go. You go to Kentucky. Check out the Bourbon Trail. It's great.
Man.
Awesome. All right, Josh. Well, we'll wrap this up, and we'll have to have you on. It was a good one. We didn't cut it into the dogs.
Next time we got to talk about my topics.
Yeah, next time let's just talk dogs. That'd be great.
Let's talk more about that cheating stuff. That's what I want. That's what I puckered up.
I got 3 hours. I got 3 hours worth of stuff of that.
We'll open it up for live calls.
There you go.
Perfect.